Oh, yes, so I did. Well, he's been dropping in here every afternoon about... What time is it?
3 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
Yeah, in the afternoon.
I've been here a long time. Well, he should be here at any minute. You know, I should stop imbibing. You know why? It isn't very good for you.
You had the treatment I had last night, you'd quit.
Oh, wonderful. Give me a temperance lecture. I haven't heard one in 14 years. The last lady that lectured me, I married. Turned her into a derelict and got rid of her. Give me a temperance lecture.
Yeah, some other time. I just saw her.
Where?
See you later, Victor. Thanks.
Well, Dollar, the police know you're out?
I'll sit down and talk it over.
I wouldn't stay in one place too long if I were you.
It won't be too long.
Well, speak your piece.
This strictly revenge, Unger?
Let's put it this way. 5 years is a long time. Good thing I learned to behave myself, or I'd still be running the prison paper.
You're the noisy type, Unger. You'd be the finger man if I so much as stubbed my toe.
Correction, I would have been. Now I've got the law doing my dirty work.
You haven't made a mistake.
I planned this for 5 years. You won't find any mistakes. Oh, I thought a lot about you, Dollar, up at the resort.
You know, in the years I've been in the insurance game, I've seen you guys come and go by the dozen. They turn you out of the same mold. You flip a few jobs and it gives you a kick and it goes to your head. Then comes that one mistake. They sort you away and it gripes you. The world's to blame. You look around for somebody to take it out on.
You talk a lot for a fugitive, Dollar.
You're going to sit down over a piece of paper and write out a full confession, Unger.
What makes you think so?
This. A confession under duress isn't worth very much. It'll be worth a lot to me. For one thing, it'll be the truth. You'll have to prove I held a gun on you.
Drop it, Dollar.
What?
I said drop it.
You got the wrong man, Lieutenant.
I doubt it, Dollar. You're under arrest for the murder of Eileen Kennedy.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, full-bodied, real mint flavor cools your mouth, moistens your throat, freshens your taste. And the chewing itself gives you a little lift, helps you keep going at your best. So for real chewing enjoyment that's refreshing and long-lasting, always keep Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. Healthful, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum will make every day more enjoyable. And now with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return you to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, it's my duty to warn you that anything you say may be held against you. If you got a good lawyer...
Lieutenant, this is ridiculous. You know I'm not a killer.
Do you want a good lawyer?
Yeah. Guess I better get one. Call Joseph P. Harris. Numbers in the book.
Take care of that, Sergeant. Yeah, it looks bad for you, Johnny. When the DA gets hold of this evidence, he's going to be pretty nasty. You have any contradictory facts?
Yeah, sure. I'm innocent.
Can you prove it? Oh, come on, Dollar. You're in trouble.
It was a beautiful job of framing, Lieutenant.
All right, tell me what happened.
Eileen Kennedy received a telegram yesterday. It asked her to meet me up at my apartment at 7:30 the next night that I wanted to talk.
You two had quite a romance at one time.
Yeah, we had quite a romance, but I didn't send that telegram.
Can you prove it?
I didn't send that... No. No, I can't prove it.
Go on.
Well, she got there at 7:30. We had a few words. Not a fight, differences of opinion. We weren't up there 5 minutes when the doorbell rang. It was Unger. He was with a guy he called Ferdy.
Well, what happened?
Unger pulled a gun on me. He sat me down in the chair, and Ferdy tied me up. Then Ferdy injected alcohol into my vein enough to make me pass out. He dumped a few bottles around the apartment, probably pouring the liquor down the drain. And when I woke up, Eileen was lying dead on the floor next to me.
That makes a good story, Dollar.
Well, here's the mark on my arm. You can still see it.
Yeah. All right, Johnny, now it's my turn. We found Eileen Kennedy in your apartment. There were 2 bullets in her, one in the abdomen, one in the chest, penetrating the heart at the right ventricle.
From my gun?
Yeah, the one we took from you when we captured you. 38 automatic.
Lieutenant,
We found empty liquor bottles around the place. Gastric analysis and autopsy of the girl showed alcohol.
Sure, we each had a drink.
A drink or many, there was a trace of alcohol. Now, you say you didn't take more than one drink. Can you prove it?
Can you prove it? Can you prove it? Can you prove you washed your face this morning?
I don't have to, Johnny. Okay, Sergeant, take him to his cell. That's why you come, send him right in.
I'll try to remember something that might help me defend you, Johnny.
Joe, I just can't think anymore. My head's going around like a pinwheel.
You've got to keep yourself under control. Now you're an investigator. You're used to dealing with things like this. Certainly when it comes to your own life.
Yeah, that's just it. When it comes to my own life, I'm tied up in knots.
Yes. Well, I'll be frank. It'll be a rough one.
Are they still holding Unger?
They couldn't hold him. They had no charge against him.
689 steps, 6.68 kilometers,
looks like.
331 calories burned.
Yep. You were terribly drunk, Johnny. Dr. Norwich told me the percentage of alcohol in your blood.
You think I killed her, don't you?
Now, look, Johnny, I'm trying to help you.
Forget it, Joe. I'll see you in court.
Excuse me, do you mind moving over one?
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Honorable Court of Connecticut is now in session pursuant to adjournment. Judge Samuel B. Epstein presiding. Be seated. The State of Connecticut versus John Dollar.
We'll waive a jury, Johnny. I think you'll have a better chance.
We'll take a jury, Joe. Start picking.
Your name, please? David W. Norwich. You're a physician, is that correct? Physician and surgeon. Now, Dr. Norwich, did the defendant, Mr. Dollar, make a visit to you on the night of July 10th last? He did. Would you mind explaining the circumstances of that visit to the jury, Doctor? He was very sick. I had to help him inside. He was so sick. A laboratory analysis of his blood showed him to be under the influence of alcohol. Did the defendant, or did he not show you a spot on his arm where a hypodermic needle had penetrated? He did. And did you or did you not suggest to him at that time that the alcohol might have been administered by means of a hypodermic needle? I did. But also... That'll be all, Doctor.
Not quite all, Doctor. Now, Doctor, you know as well as I do that a little black dot on the underside of the elbow might have been done by an enterprising young investigator such as Mr. Dollar in order to put forth a fairy tale that he was drugged, do you not?
I object, Your Honor. The prosecuting attorney is attempting to intimidate the witness and interject his own opinions through the medium of his questions. Sustained.
Very well. Doctor, is there any possible way of showing through laboratory tests of one sort or another whether alcohol had been administered by hypodermic or by mouth?
Yes, there is. Gastric analysis.
And did you perform such a test upon the defendant, Mr. Dollar, at the time of his visit to you, July 10 last?
I did.
Will you tell the jury what you found, please?
I found a trace of alcohol.
That will be all, Doctor. Thank you. Your name, please.
Rochelle Happerston,
You know it, Johnny. Happerston, where do you live?
1024 and a half Pitkin Street, East Hartford.
What relationship did you have to the murdered girl, Miss Kennedy?
I was her roommate.
How long had you roomed with Miss Kennedy?
Oh, about 3 years.
Now, Miss Happerston, did the defendant, Mr. Dollar, ever call on Miss Kennedy?
Well, not for the last 2 years.
But prior to 2 years ago, he did call at her place of residence. Is that not correct?
2 years ago, yes.
Now, is it not true that Miss Kennedy and Mr. Dollar were about to be married?
Yes, that's true, but that was 2 years ago, too, so far as I know.
Just answer the questions, Miss Happerston.
Well, you want the truth, don't you?
We'll get the truth, Miss Happerston. Now, were you present when Miss Kennedy received the wire from Mr. Dollar requesting her to meet him at his apartment at 7:30 the night of July 10 last?
Yes, I was.
And what do you remember to be her reaction?
Hand me that pen.
Well, she was very confused. She said she didn't love him, and she was hoping he wouldn't ask her to start again.
And she went to Mr. Dollar's apartment under the impression that there was a chance that he might ask her to get together again?
Objection, Your Honor. The witness cannot know what went on in the mind of the deceased. Sustained. Strike the previous question from the record. Proceed.
In your opinion, no, let me put it this way. Did Miss Kennedy not say to you only a day before the time that she left for Mr. Dollar's apartment that she was not in love with Dollar and that she hoped he would not ask her to marry him?
Yes, she did.
That will be all, Miss Hatterston. Your name, please.
Javier Sawyer.
Would you state your occupation?
I'm a lieutenant, Homicide Bureau, Hartford Police Department.
Lieutenant Sawyer, you were in charge of the Kennedy case, were you not?
Yes, I was.
You examined Mr. Dollar's apartment following the crime?
I did.
Did you find empty bottles of whiskey in the apartment?
I did.
How many?
4.
And where were the bottles placed?
I only saw 3.
Well, 1 was adjacent to the body, 2 were in one corner of the living room, and 1 was in the kitchen.
Now, is it possible that one or more of those bottles might have been consumed previous to the night of July 10th, the night that Eileen Kennedy was killed?
No, sir.
Why do you say that, Lieutenant?
Well, there were a few drops of liquor in every one of the 4 bottles. Had the liquor been consumed previous to that night, these drops would have evaporated by the time we got there.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Your witness, Mr. Harris.
No questions.
Looks bad, Johnny.
4 bottles. I only saw 3.
Maybe a plea of guilty.
A hypodermic?
What'd you say?
Joe, I've been in a fog. Put me on the stand.
I'd advise against it.
Put me on the stand, Joe.
Your name?
Johnny Dollar,
Where do you live?
390 Pearl Street, Hartford.
I'm going to point out to your attorney that you don't have to testify. You're aware of that.
I am.
Oh. Did you kill Eileen Kennedy?
I did not, and I can prove it.
Please. Ladies and gentlemen,
Please continue, Mr. Dollar.
Now, there were 4 empty liquor bottles found in my apartment the night Eileen Kennedy was killed. Get that? 4 bottles. 1 near the body, 2 in the corner, and the police say they found 1 in the kitchen. All empty. Lieutenant Sawyer testified that by examining the degree of evaporation in the bottles of the residual whiskey, those bottles had been emptied the night of July 10th and not before.
Go on.
The medical examiners proved that Miss Kennedy did not have a high percentage of alcohol in her blood. She could not then have consumed as much as a pint of liquor, and the police say even that much is doubtful. Now that means, ladies and gentlemen, that the night of July 10th, I would have had to consume over 3.5 quarts of whiskey. I've got to admit that I would have been unconscious long before I reached that point.
Order! 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 Proceed, Mr. Dollar.
Now, as for the hypodermic needle, assuming I were about to go under from an overdose of alcohol, is it likely that I, who have had no practice at the administration of hypodermics, would have used my left hand to administer a hypodermic to myself and be accurate enough to hit the vein so exactly? Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one man who had a motive to kill Eileen Kennedy. That motive was to get me, something he'd been threatening to do for 5 years. And that's the man, the next witness, the elevator boy in my building saw come up to my apartment the night of Eileen Kennedy's murder. That man is here in this courtroom. His name is Henry J. Unger. Look out, he's making a break for it. Stop him, Pete! You did it, Johnny, you did it! So the case of the state versus Johnny Dollar became the case of the state versus Henry Unger. Ferdy's confession under fire isn't going to help Unger any. You might sum up my whole case in one sentence. Alcohol and murder don't mix. But I'm not kidding myself. If Unger hadn't got panicky at the mention of the next witness, I might have gotten what he deserved. Just shows what a little nerve, some fast bluff, and somebody else's sense of guilt will do for you. You see, there is no elevator in my building. Expense account total, $50.39, and more worry than you've got stockholders. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Leave his expenses on the fence. The fuck?
Remember, friends, to make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum. There's lots of cooling, real mint flavor in every stick. And chewing Wrigley Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert. You feel better, work better, get more fun out of doing things. So indoors, outdoors, wherever you go, keep some helpful, refreshing Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to delicious Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brought to you by Wrigley Spearmint Gum, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role, and is written by Gil Dowd and David Ellis, with music composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Edmund O'Brien can soon be seen starring in the Columbia Pictures production 7-Eleven Ocean Drive. Featured in tonight's cast were Lou Krugman, Gene Bates, Raymond Burr, Sidney Miller, Mary Shipp, Harley Bear, Herb Butterfield, and Bill Conrad. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. The makers of Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you've enjoyed tonight's story of Johnny Dollar and that you're enjoying delicious Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum every day. We invite you to join us again next week at the same time when, from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien returns in another transcribed adventure of
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Damn it.
Gunsmoke, brought to you by Chesterfield, America's most popular two-way cigarette. One a pair. Chesterfield King Size at the new low price. Chesterfield Regular. Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad, the transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America, and the story of a man who moved with it. I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. That's the job that makes a man watchful and a little lonely.
Fucking time I go to touch a button, you're gonna start, man. Every time I speak, every time I look at the screen, man. Keep it up, dipshit. You are fucking stupid. Every time you do that, I just start over. You are fucking retarded. A complete waste of oxygen. And you notice I kept the same IP address. I didn't know this was gonna happen.
I guess I put yourself
You are dumb as rocks.
Hot today, ain't it? I didn't come to Dodge to talk about the weather. A stranger here, ain't you? Looking for this sheriff.
SoundCloud has stuff. That's useful since I'm not using SoundCloud.
Help you, I'm Chester Proudfoot. Where?
The half-breed. Right? Keep it up. Keep it up. App may not work yet. Keep it up. One after the other after the other. You're going from port to port to port to port, doing little bursts to see what the router will and won't catch. Right. And I don't know why you keep doing this crash and SoundCloud thing when it starts working again anyway. Complete fucking waste. You're a complete fucking waste. You're a waste of water and oxygen. Complete waste.
Jump in the water, speed that flow. Don't go against that flow. Speed that flow, speed that flow. Jump in that water, speed that flow. Don't go against that flow. Jump in the water. You can keep your little six, little nigga. I run the dot. Even when I'm OT, my nigga. I run the dot. Nothing gon' change, little nigga. When I'm under lock. Tell every rapper in this motherfucking city that I run the dot. I run this bitch that track and field. Race strikes like you're not the only one packing still. Power couple stand on top of the hill like track and chill. Little niggas too young for big match like Happy Meals. Who the best here? Shackle of blood like we don't text there. In the cut, niggas go what? It's like a check staring. Niggas said boy gon' die, but couldn't get near him. Silence it got no sound, like a vet hearing. I said before I'm a killer. If I drop a P, you'll see this rain like killer. We was in the East Detention Project Bounce, that's out the count. When I used to turn myself in with an ounce. If you're from the friend, I never would big announce. Back in 04, when Galloway around the house, I was hectic. Nigga that said he was playing checkmate. You bleeding out of range, we used to give you niggas headspace. Sprung quarter over to get you out on the next day. Blood on my hand, yo bitch, that's how I get made. Fucking with your shorty in my breach like He-Man. Like Thomas and Trent can't do it, like yes we can. Keep it 6, nigga, we keep 6. We can handle this like man or get us some G shit. Set tripping niggas switching colors like police sticks. The money that we putting on you, what do you read with? You'll see shit. What if they ones, all I see is the snake ones. The cats that put work in their pocket and got no cake from. If a buzz ain't big and no 6 buzz, I'll make one. And if that shit don't come easy, nigga, I'll take some. Nigga, I run the dot. Even when I'm OG, my nigga, I run the dot.
Living Mi'kmaq in Donald Trump's US of A. This week we take a summer trip. This week, Malibu first.
Nothing you can do that make me run away from this class, y'all. This class, y'all.
Welcome to Mi'kmaq Matters.
been trapping all day, trying to find a way to get up out of this. I know that shit don't last long, either I be dead and gone or them cups are on my wrist. And I'm just here trying to leave, trying to get up off the streets, and they took my boy from me. I'm out here lonely on the block, cause my homies on lock. This ain't how it's supposed to be.
Niggas know it's average. We pushed on the strap, we gotta have it. And don't say a word about that thing that spits rapid. Niggas won't hesitate to put his face on the pamphlet. Your hustle's backed up. My hustle been doing backflips. SKs that fold out. Hollows been causing showouts. Rolling with Michelle. Been trapping out of a full house. My family matters like Urkel though. We like herbivore. I never heard of y'all. Bullets, they could've murked me, bro. I behind that glass till my black knife shatters. Cause emotion in your life, just like Black Lives Matter. I always knew that dreaming came easily. But now I'm having dreams that niggas keep putting heat to me. So I had to take the snub out the box, it was empty. So I had to take the slugs out the sock, F-O-T-G. Niggas know the clan that I fuck with, believe me. It ain't nothing I start dumping. My strap cost 3 bands, shoot like I got 3 hands. Niggas know the deal when we pull up in like 3 bands. A voodoo man tryna shoot me, watch it heat jam, then beat the whole clip of my bullets, they got it.
I've been trapping all day, trying to find a way to get up out of this. I know that shit don't last long, either I be dead and gone or them cups are on my wrist. And I'm just here trying to leave, trying to get up off the streets, and they took my boy from me. I'm out here lonely on the block, cause my homies on lock. This ain't how it's supposed to be. I've been trapping all day, trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day, man. I'm just trapping all day, trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day, man. I'm just trapping all day, trapping all day, trapping all.
And in the whole wide world, no cigarette satisfy.
Pleasure. Greg Fish, here on The Shift. I'm Shane Yule. We'll be right back.
Isabel Zendal in the hospital in Madrid. I'm working as a nurse. I'm really very excited because I had my second vaccine. And
I'm just trapping all day, fucking trapping all day, trapping all goddamn day.
Penitentiary chances or a casket laid out. Them the only 2 ways the shit plays out. Picket fence foreign shit is wicked in the caged house. Gorillas in the cell picking they braids out. My nigga lock gun, and so is young too. So is fresh and Mars. Tell me who I'm supposed to run to when I'm in need of a shoulder. When I'm trying to be righteous, but the street life making me colder. Took the white Pyrex nights baked in the soda. Goons pop like you shaking the cola. Wasted the sober when the words out of sign. No escaping them rollers. No room for error here. It's one mistake and it's over. But I'm trying to do this rap. That's my word, cuz. Stuck between a dream and these fiends, I gotta serve drugs. 2 options, pick one, the choice is on you. Make sure it ain't the wrong move, it's grand.
I revolvers like cowboys, the French like Indians, and royalty like Englishmen. Christians still reading on Corinthians. Red still murders on the Islington. Every day's an incident. Try to talk to niggas, they ain't listening like so be it. To catch the place if they was looking, but they don't see it. You see it. Sister hope that we pushing in that collegiate. Niggas wore purple like Cameron, I really meant it. Told me I'm a genius. The way I tell these stories like I seen this. I add the hurrah, so the realest for the Libras. Fuck your horoscope, I got a horoscope. Put it on the top of the rifle with that Ferrari provoke. Never knew niggas was singing till they hit.
I'm over here fucking with TF Travis and Floyd. I'm on the block right now. Drinking. They stay on the phone.
Hey, look, y'all. Hey, my arm hurt.
How you doing?
All right.
Bro. Come on, chill.
I gotta go back to my house for what they did on this side.
Man, you been looking for me. What I do? Got the gun? It's a wrap.
I might die for this shit, nigga. All them homicides is on Tripp, nigga. Gang banging that grip shit. Niggas calling up cause of them blue shades.
My people say was right behind, and ain't no nigga pulling up in no new rave. It was cool to the gang raid. Now these tough guys just never act right. Blood can fill a whole bathtub. Let these blood brothers get baptized. Blacklisted on the bad guy, plus some dark skin, so I'm the black guy. Never see me like black eyes, and we still pack cannons at shack size. Niggas swear they a man, let a light skin brother like, really what you talking about? Niggas say you in the can, try to kill him on the chat, let the people still chop him up. I
I ain't trust anybody that'll walk around. Pop kind, only reason that they poppin' out. Niggas kings on my shoes like crocodiles. They know they fucking with me like a crocodile. Gang, 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 gang. Yelling that shit that you never been a part of. I know niggas I got waiting for the startup. D-Rose and they ain't even put a start up. Not one person goes hard for the city, got a mainstream level. Talk about a topic that's product. Show me if they ever seen a bite that is out of. Not me out and mad that I got it. CCP ring like a nigga just a product. Think he's styling on you cause you seen him in his product. Big gun bust from a nigga like a maga. Party next door, I need a shot in a bopper. Tell Jay Prince I don't give a fuck, yo. Fighting for a rap with a cut though. Squinting in around in a touch flow. But they agree to keep it on the hush though.
I'm blued up, I'm crewed up. For the F43G, I'm shoot up. Any nigga that really want it, I'ma bomb it. 32 shots and skeletons out the closet. You don't wanna be back down with your belly up. 4 double law niggas hopping on the heavy truck. We give bullets, but niggas don't give any bucks. Mac ain't auto, but I'll show you how to semi-buck. Type of strap, you may need to get rid of me. Really take headshots, so who's guillotine? You ain't know I really bang in these streets. Got heat from the west, but I'll bang in the east. Nigga, crip, 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 crip. I rep a gang that you never been a part of. I put that on my mother and I put that on my daughter. If you just one of my brothers, then your blacks could have shot up. I'm like Welvin, yelling out God, so you ain't gotta ask Biggie Smalls who shot him. I got a Biggie pump that'll work when I pop up. Had to move work in the slums just to guap up. Now I hit the club till the bartender top up. The stocks well, so for lock, you'll get shot up. Now I hit the club till the bartender top up. The stocks well, so for lock, you'll get shot up.
I might die for this shit, nigga. All them homicides was on.
Nous la gazelle, concours ange, il dessiné pour monde, quoi. C'est comme ça, oui, voilà,
You can't get no further than that. All them people got there is a bulky old mule.
Good. I'm sorry about your partner, mister, but we'll try to catch Springer before he kills anybody else. Come on, Chester. There was no moon that night, and it was pitch dark, so we had to guess and ride them straight. But we managed pretty well, and in about an hour we saw the lights of a cabin off to our left. We rode over, left our horses 100 yards from it, and then went the rest of the way on foot. We could hear voices inside, so we sneaked up to the window.
I can't wait much longer. Are you sure you ain't lying to me? Yes, I ain't smiling, Mr. Ain't no reason why I should lie to you. My husband should have been back before this. But it won't do you no good when he does come. You won't get far on that mule of ours. Well, what's wrong with your mule? Nothing. Just for being ornery and stubborn. I'll get him over that fast enough. You can have the mule, mister. I don't care about that. But don't hurt my husband, please. Lady, I don't want to hurt nobody. Listen, they get in my way like someone's done lately. Near enough, no, mister. Never you mind. Look, when your husband walks in here, don't you give me away. All I ask is you don't shoot him. Chester, I won't shoot him. He'll start you. But ain't going to get you. Not easy. We better do something quick before her husband gets back to you. Look, I got an idea, Chester. If that woman's at all smart, it might work. What? You get out there in front of the cabin, but far enough away so nobody can see you. And then you yell for her. Yell for her? Pretend you're her husband. Tell her to come out and give you a hand with a mule. But what do I call her? I don't know. Call her wife or woman, anything like that. It doesn't matter. She'll know it isn't her husband. Where are you going? Right against the wall by the front door.
Come on, you have 5 husbands. Just start screaming that.
When he comes out, I'll take him.
Making Jesus do.
All right, get going now.
Those frogs, are you in the fucking desert?
By the morning, so while we're waiting, you might just fix me some bread and some meat to take along, man. Bread and meat? Well,
pork, fat, and beans is all I got around here, mister.
Well, I could eat some of that.
Hey, what? Come on out here and give me a hand.
Who is that?
Woman, get on out here. I say, this mule won't take another step.
That's your husband.
No.
Don't try to fool me. Open that door and
fucked it
go
up.
in. Put the light out first. All right, now open it, or else you think something's wrong.
What is taking you so long? I gotta sit out here all night?
Answer him.
I'm coming, Jack.
Now go on. I'll walk right behind you. Go on.
All right.
All right, come on in, Chester.
Who are you? Where'd you come from?
I'm Marshal Dillon from Dodge, man. You got nothing to worry about. Hank Springer's killed his last man.
Who's this? I knew it wasn't Jack. Oh, it worked fine, didn't it, Mr. Dillon? He walked into it like a lamb to slaughter. Good evening, ma'am. Hello.
Get his gun, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, ma'am, is your husband really coming back tonight?
Yes, he is, Marshal.
Well, we'll spend the night here if you'll let us. But I'd like to borrow that mule in the morning. Hank Springer wanted to ride him up to Mingo. And I'm going to see that he does. There are more than 60 million cigarette smokers in America who smoke many brands. In choosing your cigarette, be sure to remember this. You will like Chesterfield best because only Chesterfield has the right combination of the world's best tobacco. Highest in quality, low in nicotine. Best for you. You and I smoke for relaxation, for comfort, for satisfaction. And in the whole wide world, no cigarette satisfies like a Chesterfield. Yes, you'll get the greatest possible pleasure from a cigarette when you choose Chesterfield. The right combination of the world's best tobacco. Highest in quality, low in nicotine. Therefore, best for you. Buy them king size at the new low price, or regular. Get a carton of Chesterfields today.
Less nicotine, but it's a longer cigarette. What the fuck's to do with that?
We started off next morning, and it took us 2 days to get to Mingo. But not so much because of the mule as because of Hank Springer's leg. I was willing to stop and let him ease it for a day or so, but he said no. He'd rather get the ride over with. Beyond that, however, he didn't say anything until we rode into town. Mingo was a small place and out of the way of the cattle trails, so it was as quiet and peaceful as any frontier town could be.
There's the sheriff's office across the street.
Okay.
Well, no use to stop there, though.
Why not?
Sheriff don't use it much. Most of the time he's gambling over at the Golden Girl.
That's it. The Golden Girl down the street there, see?
Well, I'm not turning any prisoner over to a sheriff at a gambling table. You ride on ahead, Chester, and tell him to come outside.
All right, sir, I'll do it.
Springer? Well, there's still time to tell me. There's something I'm sure curious about.
You can ask me, Marshal.
Why in the world did you head back up here?
Find Jim Powell.
Who's Jim Powell?
I figured it out, Marshal. It was him that killed Dopey.
Oh. Well, you can tell him that in court, I guess. Now, here we are. Let's get on.
All right. Oh. Marshal.
Yeah.
You still think I'm lying, don't you?
Well, I don't know, Springer. But it doesn't matter much what I think, does it?
Oh, I guess not. But I can prove I didn't do it.
Then why did you run in the first place?
Well, I knew he was after me. I got scared. Shouldn't have, but I did. And
there's a sheriff.
Marshal Dillon,
I'm Sheriff Bradley.
Hello?
Man here told me all about what happened. I'll take charge of Hank Springer now.
Look, I'm going to get a fair trial. Ain't I, Sheriff?
I don't talk to murderers, Hank. I don't care about that buffalo hunter, but killing Brake's a different matter. He was my deputy.
Well, if you hadn't have picked a coward for deputy, I wouldn't have had to kill him.
What do you mean, a coward?
He was a coward and a liar, both. Wait a minute. What are you saying, Hank?
Well,
Brake promised me he wouldn't put no handcuffs on me. He swore he wouldn't, didn't he, Marshal?
he did. Well, he got scared and he busted his word.
I went crazy when he put them things on me, Marshal, and I choked him. And then I got the key. I took them handcuffs off and threw them away. Well, I had to run, man.
You're a fool, Hank. If you'd have come back peaceful with Brake, you'd be a free man right now.
You mean you found out it was Jim Powell that killed Dopey?
Of course I did. Jim Powell got real drunk the other day and started bragging. Me and a couple other fellas got him in jail, and he confessed as soon as he sobered up. I knew you didn't do it, Hank. I knew it all along.
Well, then why was you saying I did? Why'd you come looking for me?
Well,
you just had to stick it onto somebody, didn't you? I should have figured that, knowing you.
You're gonna hang now anyway. What difference does it make?
Well, you'll be glad to see me hang, won't you, Sheriff?
I never did like you, Hank. That's why I picked you in the first place.
Hank. What, Marshal? I've changed my mind. About what? About turning you over to this rotten, worthless sheriff.
You can't talk like that.
Shut up! Hank hasn't committed any crime around here, so I'm taking him back to Dodge for trial.
He's my prisoner, Marshal. You can't cheat me out of him. I got a right to him.
You got nothing. And sheriff or no sheriff, I'll bend a 6-gun across your head if I hear any more out of you. Well? All right, let's go, Hank.
All right, thank you, Marshal. I'd like that just silent.
First, Marshal, I want to go over to jail there. I'll tell Jim Powell I don't bear him no grudge for letting him chase me before he talked. Because he might feel bad about it, especially the trouble I'm in now. Well, that's decent of you, Hank. Now that's your jail, Sheriff, so take it. We'll wait outside. Come on. Bet you're sure ain't losing credit for bringing me to trial, don't you, Sheriff? That's enough, Hank. Stop needling it.
I did hate you, Hank.
Yeah, and I always told you. All right, Marshal. All right, take him in, Sheriff, but don't be long. We gotta get started for Dodge.
Come on, Hank. Don't you walk in front of me.
Mr. Dillon, that sheriff like that makes a man kind of ashamed, don't it? I mean, it makes people think the law don't amount to much.
Ah, the law's bigger than any one man, Chester.
That's right, I guess so. What? Hey, that comes from jail.
Yeah, it sure did.
Hank, Mr. Dillon, he's been shot.
All right, put the gun up, Sheriff.
He started to run.
Run where? Into a cell?
No. He jumped me first. I had to shoot him.
Well, he's dead.
It was his idea coming in here and trying to get away. He wanted my gun.
So he jumped you, huh?
He swung around, grabbed for my gun. I had to shoot him.
In the back?
I don't know where I shot him, Marshal. What difference does it make?
Hand me your gun, Sheriff.
What?
Your gun. Give it to me.
You're forgetting I'm the sheriff in this town, ain't you?
You're the sheriff, but I'm arresting you for murder.
No.
No?
Get away from me, Marshal.
He was just about to draw, Mr. Dillon.
No, he wasn't, Chester. But I wish he had. I'd rather have ridden back to Dodge without him. He's gonna make mighty poor company. L&M goes king size. Yes, L&M goes king size.
The incidence of
Now, L&M is king size as well as regular. Both have the same low price. Both have the miracle tip for the effective filtration you need. Yes, it's the filter that counts. And L&M has the best. You get much more flavor, much less nicotine, a light and mild smoke. Yes, this is it. L&M filters, just what the doctor ordered. Buy a carton, king size or regular, both at the same low price. L&M filters, America's highest quality and best filter tip cigarette. Gunsmoke, produced and directed by Norman McDonald, starred William Conrad and Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Lawrence Dobkin, Jack Susan, John Daner, Joe Forte, and Irene Tedrow. Harley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Remember, next week at this same time, Chesterfield will bring you another transcribed story of the Western frontier on Gunsmoke. This is the CBS Radio Network.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Now, as gunshots echo across the wind-swept, snow-covered reaches of the wild Northwest, Quaker Oats, the giant of the cereals, presents Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. On King, on you huskies! Gold discovered in the Yukon, a stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush, with Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog, Yukon King, as they meet the challenge of the Yukon. Brought to you by Quaker Oats. Sergeant Preston was on the trail when he saw Tom Gordon near the latter's newly found mining property. Gordon's sled was loaded, and the elderly prospector was harnessing his dogs when Preston stopped his team near the mine.
Hello, Tom. Hi, Sergeant.
Don't tell me you're giving up on this mine of yours.
Giving up? No, sir. Not when it's given up to me. Giving up more gold than I ever saw anywhere in these parts.
You really made a strike, Tom?
And look at those bags on that sled. There's nothing but gold in them. That's right. Filled with dust they are. Dust and some nuggets I washed out before taking off.
Well, congratulations, Tom. You've worked hard. You deserve to strike it rich.
Thanks. I'm taking this load to Whitehorse for banking. I aim to hold on to what I've mined so far.
I'll help you, Tom. I'm going to Whitehorse myself.
Huh? You'll help me? Well, doggone. I never expected anything like this. This is swell.
We should make Whitehorse within 3 days. Unless a blizzard comes up, I don't like the looks of that sky.
I don't either, Sergeant. Where'll we stop on the way south? Bent Hat will be one place, I know.
We can't make Bent Hat for at least 2 days. We'd better stay over at North End tonight.
North End, huh? Yeah, that's a good idea.
They have what they call a hotel there.
Oh?
It'll be safe sleeping in a place like that. You ready to start, Sergeant? I am.
Don't mind. Up front, King. All right, on King! On, you husky! The wind was howling, and there were snow flurries in the air that night as Sergeant Preston and Tom Gordon brought their sleds to a stop in front of the ramshackle hotel in North End. Looking! Oh, let's get that stuff unloaded, Tom.
Right, Sergeant.
They began at once to unload the sacks of gold dust and small nuggets from the sled. And then, before doing anything else, they carried them inside and to the room assigned to them by the sleepy-eyed clerk.
Say, this room will be all right, Sergeant. 2 beds in it, too. This will be the first time I've slept on a bed in more than 3 years.
We'll put the bags in this closet, Tom.
Sure thing.
When they placed the gold in the closet, Sergeant Preston turned to Tom Gordon. Want to eat now, Tom?
Well, not yet, Sergeant. I'm not used to being on the trail so long. Not lately, that is. If you don't mind, I'm going to lie down for a while.
Whatever you say, Tom. I'll take the dogs and sleds to Fred Summit's kennels there down at the end of the street. You rest. I'll be back in an hour or so. 2 men, Jack Finley and Buffalo Davis, had been in the cafe opposite the hotel when Sergeant Preston and the prospector arrived and unpacked what could only be bags of gold dust. Now, as Preston led first his own team and then the dogs of Tom Gordon to the kennels at the end of the street, both men's thoughts took the same turn.
Hey, Jack, that was gold they had in those bags they took into the hotel.
Yeah, and that goes inside now with only that old coot sound good and a look at you.
You're thinking what I am, huh? We can go in there and take it from them before anyone knows what's happened.
No. Not just like that, Buffalo. Getting the gold would be easy. Holding on to it's another thing. And the question around. Buffalo, we'll have to take care of that money.
You're going to kill him, Jack?
No. Other ways of taking care of him without having to kill him.
Like what?
Get our sled ready. Bring some rope from it.
Well, I'll get the ropes, Jack, but what's the play?
There's that broken down cabin at the end of the street, just a little ways from the kennels. Preston will have to pass there, coming back to the hotel. And here's what we'll do. I'll go to the rear of the cabin and start yelling.
But he was sure that the dogs were fed and would be protected for the night. Sergeant Preston left Fred Summit's kennels. He and King were passing a space between 2 empty shacks when they heard a yell from the darkness, seemingly to the rear of the building.
Come on, King. Someone's in trouble.
Sergeant Preston, followed by King, rushed between the buildings toward the spot where Jack Finley was shouting for help. They passed an open door in the deserted shack. King stopped suddenly and growled in warning. But too late. Before Preston could heed the dog, Buffalo Davis leaped from the doorway and brought his gun down on the head of the Mountie. As Preston fell to the snow-covered ground, King leaped at Buffalo and retreated into the cabin.
Take it down, gun! Hey, Jack! Help me, Jack! Jack!
King's teeth closed around the arm of Buffalo Davis, shaking the crook's gun to the floor. Davis, panic-stricken, called for help and tried to break away from the animal. And then Jack Finley ran into the cabin and used his great strength in an attempt to loosen the dog's hold. Finley, behind King, wrapped his arms around the dog's neck and pulled vitally.
Buffalo, when I get him off of you, run outside. There! Now run!
The pressure on the dog's throat caused him to open his mouth wide. Davis, visibly shaken, ran outside. Finley, his arms still around the struggling dog, inched toward the doorway. He used his strength in a final effort and pushed King away from him toward the far wall. He pivoted and rushed into the night, slamming the door behind him and leaving King inside the windowless room.
Hey, Jack. That dog was going to tear me to pieces.
Don't mind that. Help me try and gag Preston. Then we'll carry him back to the cabin. Go in the bushes.
We'll continue our adventure in just a moment. Here's a time-saving breakfast tip for every mother who has a baby 3 months or older. When you cook good, nourishing hot Quaker oats for the baby, it's all ready for the rest of the family, too. The creamy, delicious, smooth Quaker oats they love. The easy directions are on every package of Quaker oats or Mother's Oats, which are the same. And you know, doctors can tell you that among cereals, oatmeal is the finest source of bodybuilding protein for your family. That's why so many pediatricians recommend good, nourishing Quaker oats for babies from the time they're 3 months old. And recently, a leading state university proved that the protein in Quaker oats is better for growth than that of 14 nationally known breakfast cereals, including 2 well-known baby cereals. So for the wonderful benefits it can give your whole family, from baby to hard-working grown-ups, serve good hot Quaker or Mother's Oats every morning. It costs less than a penny a serving. Now to continue. Minutes after they left Sergeant Preston bound and gagged in the brush, the crooks entered the hotel and knocked the dozing night clerk unconscious. Then they went directly to the room where Tom Gordon lay resting on the bed. Before the prospector could rise, the intruders were upon him. One swift blow, a gag in his mouth, and Gordon was no longer a problem for Findlay and Davis. They went to the closet and removed the sacks of gold. A few minutes later, the robbers placed the bags of dust and nuggets on their sled and started south. Rush! Rush, you rush! 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 Kennel owner Fred Summit left his kennels about midnight, carrying a lighted lantern, and started toward the cafe up the street. A short distance from his place, he stopped as he heard the insistent barking of a dog somewhere nearby. He was in front of a deserted shack, and the barking seemed to come from there. That's strange. He walked between 2 buildings to the side door where he could hear the dog. He pushed open the door, holding the lantern above his head. He immediately recognized the great husky and rushed toward him. King! What's the matter, King? What are you doing here? Where's Sergeant Preston? The dog tugged at Summit's sleeve with almost human insistence, and then rushed into the night. Summit followed. Outside, he found King sniffing at the ground. Then the dog raised its head and with a bound ran to the rear of the area. Something's happened here, all right. Judging by the snow, there must have been... What is it, King? King had returned and once more was tugging at the man's sleeve. The dog lover, knowing of King's great intelligence, followed the dog immediately. His lantern held high again, Summit walked through the brush where King led him. There he found Sergeant Preston bound and gagged. What? Sergeant Preston? Just a moment, Sergeant. I'll have you free in a jiffy. Summit helped revive the Mountie. Together, they went back to the hotel. Disregarding the clerk, who greeted him in a frantic manner, Sergeant Preston led the way to the room where he had left Tom Gordon.
Disregarding.
Tom Gordon. Oh, I was afraid of this. He's tied up and gagged, too. Sergeant, who did this to you in here? What's it all about?
Someone's stolen the gold Gordon had in the closet. It's empty. I'll take the gag from Tom's mouth and untie him.
When Sergeant Preston removed the gag and the ropes, Tom Gordon still did not move. Sergeant Preston felt the man's heart and pulse, and then forced open his eyelids.
He's in bad shape. Summit, is Dr. Gray still in town?
Yes, Sergeant. You want me to get him?
Would you please? Meanwhile, I'll do what I can to help Tom.
When the doctor returned with Summit and began to treat the old prospector, Sergeant Preston left at once. He questioned the hotel clerk and men in the cafe, and got a description of the crooks and the clothing they wore. Then, finally, he found the fresh trail of their dogs and sled on the road from town heading south.
Well, King, whoever they are, they're heading toward Bent Hat, and we're going after them.
Late the next afternoon, Jack Findlay and Buffalo Davis, numb and almost blinded by snow, staggered with their team into the town of Bent Hat. Before heading for a hotel or any of the cafes dotting the street, Findlay spoke to Davis.
This is bad for us, Buffalo. We never figured on this blizzard.
No, it's getting worse. We'll not be able to leave here, Jack. Not while it's like this.
I know it. We're lucky we got this far. Buffalo, we have to worry about that Mountie Preston.
Yeah, sure we do. He's liable to be on that trail by now. Unless he died from cold. We should have killed him at Gordon, I guess.
Yeah, but we didn't. So we can't take chances. In case he is alive.
What do you mean, can't take chances? We'll have to.
Don't argue about words. Get to the hotel. Take these whiskers and cut her hair short.
So Preston can't identify us if he sees us, huh?
What about these clothes you wear?
I went by no one. And we'll move around town saying we just came north from Whitehorse.
Don't you think someone might get wise?
Ah, not if we're careful and play our part straight. We'll fool them, Buffalo. But we better start fooling them right away. Come on.
A few hours later, as Sergeant Preston was nearing Bent Hat, two other men worked glumly in a shack at the end of Bent Hat Main Street. They were medicine showman Montague Rogers, spare and tall, and his dumpy assistant, Nifty.
That's sufficient, Nifty.
Yeah, all right, boss. They had just emptied the contents of a large barrel into a great number of brightly labeled bottles. The labels proclaimed the liquid as Rogers' Golden Elixir, a cure for all diseases known to man. Rogers corked the last bottle and placed it beside the rest at the end of the large platform at the front of the building.
Nifty, my boon companion, we've bottled enough of our foul medication to last us until it's time to take our show on the road next spring.
Yeah. By the looks of that blizzard outside, we'll not sell a bottle till we do take to the road. Nobody will ever come to see our show tonight.
Because of a little blizzard? Nifty, you forget, we are premier entertainers, actors, who will make these gold-mad scavengers forget the wind and snow, while we beguile them with our songs, stories, and rheumatic dancing. They all have aches and pains. They all need Rogers' Golden Elixir.
Yeah, and they'll all stay away from this joint tonight. You'll see.
Ah, you're a pessimist, Nifty.
I'm a starving pessimist, Monty. Somebody better come tonight or we'll end up eating each other.
Ah, you have an idea there, Nifty, and I have the teeth. However, enough of your cannibalistic thoughts. Let's take this empty barrel and place it at the rear of this temple of medicine and amusement, eh?
Put it outside. What for? The only barrel we have for mixing this leap up we made.
Ah, nevertheless, we'll place it outside until after the lame and halt leave tonight. We don't want them to realize our panacea is made here in a barrel. After all, I tell them we bring it to them from the herb-ridden jungles of Africa.
It'll get full of snow if we put it out there.
Grand! When we take the barrel back inside, we'll melt the snow and use it for our next mixture.
Yeah, all right. If we have to put the barrel outside, let's get it over with. You ready? I'm too weak to handle it alone. Give me some help.
Of course, of course.
You tilt it and roll it.
Meanwhile, Jack Finley and Buffalo Davis had bought new clothes at Herman White's clothing store. Finley had bribed the clerk in the hotel at which they were staying to say that both men had been clean-shaven when they arrived, and that they had come from Whitehorse. Then, self-assured, they set out for the Sluice Box Cafe. An hour later, Sergeant Preston arrived in Bent Hat, found a place to leave his dogs and sled, and then started a round of the hotels and cafes. As Preston entered the Sluice Box Cafe, King's hair bristled. He began to sniff the air and growl.
Water, King. Take it easy, fella. Easy.
Preston bent to pat the dog. Two clean-shaven men, well-dressed but suddenly panicky, slipped from the far end of the bar and hurried out the rear door of the cafe. King began to calm down, but continued to sniff the air as Sergeant Preston walked to the bar and spoke to the bartender.
Hello, Red.
Hello, Sergeant.
I'm looking for a couple of gold, please.
The Mountie told of his quest for two bewhiskered men and the reason for wanting them. Red Oakley, the bartender, was unable to assist him.
Nobody's come in here from the north, as far as I know. Not in the last couple of days, anyway. Only two men I know about came in from the south, from Whitehorse sometime this afternoon. But they didn't have whiskers. As a matter of fact, they're down at the other end of the bar. Right. Hey, that's funny. Gone. They were there a minute ago.
At that moment, another man entered from the rear, through the door where Davis and Finley had made their exit. He was Herman White, the clothing store owner, and he walked up to greet Sergeant Preston.
Sergeant Preston! Well, I'm glad to see you, Sergeant. What brings you to Bent Hat so soon after your last visit?
I'm looking for a couple of thieves, Herman.
You haven't seen two fellas, both with whiskers, dressed in parkas, and new in town, have you?
By golly, thieves were they? I should have suspected that. Anyone shaving in this weather like they did.
Shaving? You saw the men?
Just a few minutes ago, they came out the rear door of this place, and just as I was coming along the street. It was snowing hard, but I can tell my own clothes.
Those were the two I told you about, Sergeant. They must have been. But they said they were from Whitehorse.
Yeah, they told me the same thing.
But they had whiskers and hair down to here when they exchanged their parkas for the clothes they're wearing.
Well, King, that's why you growled when we came in here.
He must have got their scent, huh?
Yes, and I didn't give him his chance to follow up on it. But we'll go after them now, King.
Charlie, thieves, sir. Sergeant, they seem to be heading for the hotel down the street. Lolly's place.
Well, they'll not get far no matter where they head. We'll try Lolly's first. Come on, King.
Finley and Buffalo Davis had become startled when Sergeant Preston and King entered the Sluice Box Cafe. They instinctively feared the dog's manner and had run into the night to be seen by Herman White, who had sold them their clothes. Realizing the man would be questioned and would tell the Mountie about them, they hurried to their hotel, grabbed the bags of gold, and left by a side door.
Buffalo, blizzard or no blizzard, we'll have to get our sled and dogs and take off on the trail.
Why did we kill him when we had the chance? Why didn't we?
Buffalo, hold back. Don't move for a minute.
Finley, who had been walking slightly ahead, pulled back as he started to cross the rear of the alley between the hotel and the shack adjoining. He had seen Sergeant Preston and King crossing the street and heading for the lighted front door of the hotel.
The Mountie, Buffalo. He's going into the hotel.
He'll be after us before we get the dogs together.
Yeah. All right, Buffalo. Can't see us now. Let's run for it.
Where you going, Jack?
I don't know. Somewhere where we can hide these sacks. Somewhere with... Hey, Buffalo, here.
Where?
Right here.
What are you doing?
Jack Finley had stopped at a barrel placed at the rear door of the cabin where Montague Rogers and Nifty Rucker waited for an audience that would never appear. Finley took both of the gold-laden sacks he carried and crammed them into the half-filled barrel.
There, mine are in there. Now, put yours in, Buffalo.
Jack, this is crazy putting the gold in there.
The trash barrel. Nobody look in there. Put those bags in, quick.
All right. I still think it's crazy.
When Davis had placed his bags into the barrel, he and Finley scooped up snow from the ground and packed it around and on top of the bags. As they hurried off, the top of the barrel seemed untouched.
There's only one thing to do, Buffalo. If he catches up with us, we'll deny we were ever in North End. We stick to our white horse story.
Yeah, but if the hotel clerk talks, if that fellow who sold us these clothes talks...
No one can prove we stole Gordon's gold. If they can't find it, and they'll not. Now let's get out of here.
The two crooks were making their way slowly to the spot where they'd placed their sled and dogs. And then suddenly a form loomed out of the darkness.
All right, Bill, I've been looking for you.
Sergeant Preston.
Hey, where'd you come from? Hey, Pointer, and the dog, keep away. Don't let him touch me.
King leaped for Davis' arm and grabbed at his teeth before the crook could reach for his gun. Finley, deciding to brazen out the situation, pretended a calmness he didn't feel.
Sergeant, what's the idea? Call that dog off. What do you want with us?
No, King, let him go, boy. I'll take his gun. There. Yeah, he was going to bite. He was not going to bite. I think he recognizes you men, and I think I'll be able to prove why.
We didn't do anything. We just came in from Whitehorse.
You did? You men step ahead of me and walk out into the street. I'm going to take you where we can talk. Get going.
This is the end, Nifty. We die for want of food. A horrible end for the likes of me. Yes, I should say me. But at least we'll be able to drink.
Oh, not the medicine. Not that.
Enough. No foul words about Roger's golden elixir. I speak not of that. I mean we drink water, pure and clear from the snow we'll melt when we get the barrel inside. Come, help me roll it in. A few minutes later, they moved the snow-filled barrel from the rear of the shack into the single room. Certainly must be a heavy snow. This barrel seems to weigh a ton. But perhaps it's my weak condition. Perhaps... Nifty, what are you doing diving into the barrel like that?
There's something in here, money. Hey, it's a sack.
Hey, look, money in a barrel. This looks like... Let me tear open that top and see what's in there. Oh, no, it's a mirage. No, I'm going mad, Nifty. It's gold. Look at it, gold. Nuggets and dust, gold. It's good. Hey, Monty, he's fainted. Hey, Monty, wake up. Monty! We'll continue our adventure in just a moment. And now, here he is, that famous teller of tall tales, your old friend, Gabby Hayes.
Hey, fellas and girls, I'll never forget the time years ago when me and my huskies were almost buried alive up in Yukon Blizzard. We'd been sledding through the storm all day That night I turned the sled up on its side so the huskies and me could get some shelter. The morning we must have had a mountain of snow on top of us. It looked like we were buried alive. Well, sir, in a spot like that, what I needed was some good, nourishing, hot Quaker oats from my supplies. So I had a big bowl quick. Then I felt new strength charging through me. I felt my muscles begin to feel super
watch the
powerful.
dogs take their way out.
There's more strength and more energy in oatmeal than in any other whole grain cereal. Because Quaker Oats is the giant of the cereal. Yes, sir, Bob. So I just put my shoulders under the sled and I give such a heave. That mountain of snow cracked wide open with such force that Stibbs McGrathy machines down in the States recorded an earthquake. Yes, sir. Say, you fellas and girls ought to see how the giant of the cereals can help you, too, like it does old Gabby. Every morning eat a heaping bowl of creamy, delicious Quaker Oats. Or make it Mother's Oats, 'cause shucks, they're exactly the same.
Now to continue. Sergeant Preston's questioning and Herman White's testimony had been of no avail. The crooks, Findlay and Davis, remained surprisingly cool and swore they had never been in North End. There was no sign of the gold on them in their sled or at the hotel. Finally, Sergeant Preston let them go.
I've no legal right to hold you. At least not yet.
You never will have.
No? Well, let's see. You may leave, Bent Hat, both of you. But if you do, I'll be right behind you. I'll stick with you until I find the gold I'm sure you stole.
Oh, you're wasting your time, Sergeant. Let's go, Buffalo. We're not running away, Sergeant. If you want us, we'll be over in the Sluice Box Cafe.
Smiling to themselves, Findlay and Davis entered the sluice box as they said they would. But they stopped short as they saw Red Oakley, the bartender, holding tightly to the coat of a tall, lean man who held a sack in his hand.
Look, Buffalo.
And at the same moment, Herman White, the clothing store owner, was running toward them.
What's the matter, White?
I'm sorry. It wasn't you who stole the gold. It was Margie Rogers. He just came in with a bag full. I must get Sergeant Preston. Found the money in a barrel, he said.
Hey, check you, that. That's it at the bar. You found money in a barrel. Our money. It has to be. Hey, let's find out. If they can't take it from us, they can't. Let's run back to where we hid the bags.
Sergeant Preston and King hurried to answer the summons to the cafe. There, Montague Rogers, shaking in anguish, explained for the third time what had happened.
And I swear on Hamlet's grave that we found it in a barrel. Come back with me if you don't believe it. Ask my man Nifty. He has 3 more bags of gold there. I was hungry and thought I could use the gold.
All right, Rogers, I believe you. We're going back to your place. Come on.
When Sergeant Preston and Monty Rogers, followed by most of the men from the cafe, got to Rogers' cabin, they found Nifty Rucker on the floor unconscious. But the gold was gone. The rear door was open, and King rushed through the opening.
King's picked up their scent. They heard him, and he knows them.
Sergeant Preston led the way through the rear door, taking after King, who was loping ahead. Jack Findlay and Buffalo Davis had left the hut only a few moments before the appearance of Sergeant Preston and the men. They were running in the hope of getting their dogs and sled when they heard King behind them. Now, as they turned into an alley, they realized King was on their heels. They dropped the sacks of gold and turned to face the dogs.
Hey, Jack, kill the dogs. No! My arm! He's got in his teeth! Take him off! Swing him around, I'll kill him.
All right, Davis, drop that gun.
No, don't shoot that!
Pick it up, will you, Mr. Waite?
Yes, I have it, Sergeant. And the sacks of gold are here on the ground floor.
Thanks. These are the cooks, all right, no doubt about it.
Don't call him off! Aren't you going to help me?
I'll call him off when you confess to stealing Gordon's gold.
Oh, yeah, sure, we'll confess. We took it. You have it there, haven't you? But call off this dog before
King, let him go, boy. I'll put the handcuffs on you and Davis and take you to Whitehorse.
Looks, this is as nerve-tingling as food.
Rogers, when I have these men locked up, I'll treat you and your partner, Nifty, to the best meal in town.
Bread is better than gold, Sergeant. Bread I can swallow. Gold, I cannot even chew.
Well, you don't have to eat your heart out, as Findlay and Davis are doing now. And now that we have them in the gold, this case is closed.
Sergeant Preston will return in just a moment with a word about our next exciting adventure.
Hello, folks. This is your friend Aunt Jemima. Do your children like extra light pancakes? Then for supper tonight, just add milk to my Aunt Jemima pancake or buckwheat mix and bake the lightest pancakes ever. And the only pancakes with that good old South flavor. Fluffy, golden, feather-light Aunt Jemima pancakes. Good for breakfast, lunch, or supper tonight. Mm-hmm.
And now, here is Sergeant Preston. Sergeant Preston reporting for duty, Inspector.
Sergeant, a young man is in Whitehorse gunning for someone he claims framed him into jail a couple of years ago.
Who is he, Inspector?
A fellow named Neil Holton. I don't know who he's after, but I want you to get him and prevent a possible murder.
Yes, sir. I'll go to Whitehorse at once. Neil Holton has almost reached the end of his long search. Can Sergeant Preston reach him and prevent murder? Be sure to hear this next exciting adventure. These radio dramas, a feature of Sergeant Preston of the Yukon Incorporated, are created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Enterprises, directed by Fred Flowerday, and edited by Fran Stryker. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. Sergeant Preston of the Yukon is brought to you every Sunday at the same time by Quaker Oats, the giant of the cereals. This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye, good luck, and good health from Quaker Oats, the giant of the cereals. So long. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Now, as gunshots echo across the wind-swept, snow-covered reaches of the wild Northwest, Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns, present Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. On King, on you husky. Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush, with Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice, bringing you the adventures of Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog, Yukon King, as they meet the challenge of the Yukon. There's no one that can make a better cereal than Quaker Puffed Rice. It's nice. And when you hear that shootin', you're darn tootin' that Quaker makes the ones shot from guns. And say, what a taste treat you have every morning when there's Quaker Puffed Rice and Quaker Puffed Wheat on the table. Top 'em with milk or thick yellow cream and chilled fruit or sliced bananas. Mmm. Every crisp, luscious bite has that swell nut-like flavor that hits the spot.
Luscious.
For the breakfast treat you'll never want to skip, enjoy delicious Quaker Puffed Rice and Quaker Puffed Wheat. After the death of his wife, Pete Chance had appealed to his older sister Flora to become his housekeeper and help him raise his motherless young daughter. For 18 years, Flora had looked after him and Pammy. But in spite of his indebtedness to her, Pete occasionally lost his temper with the tall, vigorous woman. As he watched her carry a bulging carpet bag of bottled remedies aboard his sturdy scow, Pete's lips compressed in a thin line of irritated disapproval.
Lordy, when we reach the States, I'll buy you a whole drugstore. But between now and then, you'll not need those medicines, pills, and powders.
A lot of things can happen on a boat trip, Pete. Seasickness, for one.
Seasickness? Now, listen, if you think I can't handle a boat...
Think what's eating you? If your nerves are on edge, I got some medicine that I
There's not a thing wrong with me that getting underway won't cure.
Hi there, Pete.
Hello, Constable Redmond.
Howdy, Miss Flora.
Good morning, Constable.
I guess you folks are all set to shove off now that the ice is broken.
Well, I waited all week for the ice to melt. Now I'm waiting for Penny.
Where is she?
You know how women are. Last-minute shoppers, every one of them. Come aboard, Constable.
Thanks.
The constable stepped from the dock to the plank that ran along the sides of the crude but sturdy scow. He walked along the plank and nodded approvingly. The flat-bottomed boat was well built. It was 42 feet long and 12 feet wide, with steering oars at the bow and stern. Each end was squared, but the sides were sheared up. A mast about 20 feet high was rigged with a large square sail. And in the center of the scow was a deck house, with a small sheet iron stove for cooking.
All the comforts of home, eh, Pete? But you're foolish to travel alone. Why not wait a week or so? Freighters will be making the trip downriver, and if you join them, you'll have the safety of numbers.
I'm well armed.
Who'll help you handle the scow?
I'll handle her myself.
Oh, you'll need an experienced riverman, Pete. You'll travel through a lot of dangerous waters.
Now, look here.
Now, maybe the constable's right.
Yes. I've handled scows in all kinds of waters. We'll get through all right, if we ever get started. If Flora, you see here.
Where are you going?
Look for Penny. I'll be back as soon as I find her. You want to come along, Constable?
Sure thing.
As Constable Redmond and Pete Chance climbed to the dock and headed toward the center of the small town of Littleport, two riders emerged from the trees behind the bank building. One of the men was short and thin. His partner was tall and heavy-set. Though their features had not appeared on handbills, both men had police records. They were Slim Carson and Sam Rayback. It was Sam who signaled a halt.
Oh. Sam, you think anyone spotted us? I told you we wouldn't be seen if we rode through the hills instead of going through town. Now, get over close to the building and tie your bandana over your face. Right. Hold your fire while we're in the bank, so no one outside will know that there's a holdup going on. Do you savvy? Yeah. When we're ready to leave the bank, we'll come out this way, and we'll come out shooting. That'll keep the folks off the street, and we'll be able to make a getaway. All right? You ready? Yeah, let's go.
Meanwhile, Pete Chance and the constable had reached the center of town.
Who's trying to Penny on the street?
The trading post is next to the bank, Pete. We'll probably find her there.
I hope so.
Oh, there she is, coming from the trading.
There she is. Penny!
Dad, it's Constable Redmond.
Hello, Pam.
What time we found you? What's in the package?
A few supplies that Aunt Flora wanted. And I bought a newspaper and some pencils.
We're overloaded with supplies now. As for newspaper and pencils...
Oh, they'll not take up much room, Dad.
Those shots came from the bank. Must be a holdup. Stay back, Pete. You too, Pete.
I have my 6-gun. I'm coming with you.
As Constable Redmond rushed through the front door of the bank, Slim Carson, who was just inside the rear door, saw him coming. Slim fired. The impact of a bullet in his gun arm sent the policeman staggering back.
Constable Redmond.
Hit me in the arm.
Take it easy. I'll help you.
Get after the crook.
That horse is out back. They better stay inside till they stop shooting.
Dad, are you all right?
I'm all right, Pam, but the constable's hit.
Constable, you hit Dad? It's my gun arm, Jim. The crook was standing at the back door as I came in the front.
His partner was already outside.
Were there two of them?
That's right. They both had their faces covered. But I heard the short, thin fellow who shot you call his partner Sam.
Sam, eh?
Yeah. Sam was tall and heavy-set. He was the one giving the orders.
Might be Sam Rayback.
Oh, I've heard of him.
So have I.
He's dangerous. Plenty dangerous.
Then we're getting out of here. Come on.
All right, Dad.
This bears out what I told you, Pete. It'd be risky for you to travel alone.
If crooks like Sam Rayback can come into town and rob the bank right under the nose of the law, we'll be a whole lot safer on the river.
Sam Rayback and Slim Carson rode at breakneck speed through the hills north of Littleport. Approaching the stream, they slowed their horses to a gradual halt and permitted the animals to drink the cool, clear water.
Yeah, we got away all right, Sam.
The best part of the getaway is If we traveled over the ground too hard to show tracks. At least we're safe this far. We'll be safe all the way. I don't know, Sam. What do you mean? I plugged him on as I was leaving the bank. Did you kill him? I hit him. Hey, that's bad. I had no choice. If I hadn't stopped him, he'd had us before we got out of town. If you killed him, we'll hang. You better get out of the Yukon. What about my share of the loot? We'll divvy it up now. Carry as much as you can in your money belt. From here on, we'll travel in this stream. This stream empties into the river, Sam. I know it. That's where we're going.
The two thieves divided the loot, then guided their horses into the rocky stream bed. As the animals picked their way carefully through the shallow water, Sergeant Preston and Yukon King reached the town of Littleport. The policeman was mounted on a black stallion, and as he drew rein and dismounted in front of the trading post, Banker Thompson hurried toward him. Leading the mountie into the bank, Thompson told of the robbery that had occurred 3 hours earlier.
The constable, the cashier, and the guard were wounded, Sergeant Preston.
How seriously were they hurt?
The cashier and the guard were both hit in the shoulder. They'll stay at the doc's house for a few days while he looks after them.
What about Constable Redmond?
Well, his right arm will be no good for a couple of weeks.
Where's he?
As soon as he was able to mount a horse, he went after the crooks. But I don't know how long he'll be able to stay in the saddle.
You say the thieves went out the back way?
That's right. Their horses were waiting for them.
In that event, King may be able to pick up a scent.
I can see their tracks, Sergeant Preston, so I know King will have no trouble getting the scent. I'll show you where their horses were standing.
All right, come on, King. Get the scent, King. We want to follow it. Understand, fella?
Has he got us, Sergeant?
I think so, Thompson. I'll get my horse and go after them.
Sergeant Preston returned to the hitch rack in front of the trading post. Picking up the reins, he led his horse to the rear of the bank.
We want to follow those two men, King.
Ready, Blackie?
Lead the way, boy.
Get up, Blackie. Come on now. Sergeant Preston had traveled only a short distance when he realized that Constable Redmond would have difficulty finding the men who had wounded him. Though King was leading his master into the hills, there were no tracks on the rocky, hard-packed ground to betray the trail of the bank robbers. Meanwhile, Constable Redmond had dismounted. He was studying the ground around him with scrupulous care. Since losing the tracks of the men he sought, his progress had been discouragingly slow. His wounded arm ached with a soreness that seemed to numb his brain. He was hot and tired, but he persisted in his search. He was convinced that the bank robbers were in the hills, heading north. Redmond was moving ahead slowly when he heard distant hoofbeats.
There they are. I was right about them being in the hills. Oh, easy, easy, boy. Now we can travel, boy. Straight up the hill. We'll head them off. All right, fella, get up. Come on, up, boy. Oh, there.
As Constable Redmond reached the top of the hill, he halted his horse and drew his service revolver. Then he waited at the side of the trail for the rider to come into view. We'll continue our adventure in just a moment. Say, fellas and girls, if you like presents, here's a present you can give your appetite every morning. A heaping bowlful of Quaker puffed wheat or Quaker puffed rice covered with milk or cream and fruit. You know, these ready-to-serve breakfast cereals are... Oh, excuse me a minute while I go to the door. Yes, what? A ghost?
Oh, no, I'm not a ghost.
I must be seeing things.
Not at all. I'm a snowman.
A snowman? Why, so you are. What on earth are you doing here?
Oh, I get tired of just standing around doing nothing. Couldn't I help you sell Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice?
You mean you want me to give you a job, Mr. Snowman?
Yep, and I'll do a swell job. Because I know all about those swell cereals.
Are you sure?
You bet your life.
You know that Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice are shot from guns?
I sure do.
Do you know they're exploded up to 8 times normal size? Puffed to perfection so they're crisp and tender?
They just melt in your mouth.
I guess you do know what you're talking about.
And they're full of bang-up nut-like flavor, too.
But say, do you know that Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice are nourishing?
that they furnish added food values of restored natural grade amounts of vitamin B1, niacin, and iron?
Well, sure, everyone knows that.
Well, Mr. Snowman, if you're going to be one of our salesmen, remember always to say, fellas and girls, be sure to look for the big red and blue package with the smiling picture of the Quaker man on the front. Then you'll be sure of getting the original, crisp, fresh Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice. Enjoy this delicious treat tomorrow morning. Now to continue. With his pistol ready for action, Constable Redmond was prepared to face Slim Carson and Sam Rayback. He wasn't prepared for the sudden appearance of the great dog King, who stopped on the trail, growling a menacing warning. A moment later, Sergeant Preston appeared.
Hello.
Sergeant Preston.
Hello, Redmond. Steady, King. Quiet, boy.
Doggone glad to see you. But you're the last man in the world I expected to find riding through these hills. King, old boy, how are you? Oh, I see. Now that I've holstered my gun, you'll say hello. Is that it?
How's your arm, Constable?
It'll be all right in a couple of weeks. Right now, I can't use it. You come from Littleport?
Yes.
And you know about the robbery?
Thompson told me all about it. King and I were following the bank robbers, and you stopped us.
I lost that trail a couple of hours ago.
King's following that scent.
Good.
Perhaps it'd be better if you went back to town.
Because of my arm? Not in your life, Sergeant. Now that you and King have taken over, I'll tag along. It'll give me a great deal of satisfaction to see those two crooks in handcuffs. Lead the way, I'll follow you.
All right. Go ahead, King. Come on, Lucky.
Yes.
It was several hours later when Sam Raybat and his partner Slim left the stream they'd been following. The ground underfoot was studded with jagged rock. The two men gave the horses their heads as they made their way downhill to the banks of the big river.
Hey, Sam. What? Stop here and listen. Oh, there. Sounds like someone's building something. Yeah, they're down below on the riverbank. Maybe we'd better investigate before we bust in on them. Good idea. Hit the ground. Right. We'll go the rest of the way on foot.
The two men approached the riverbank cautiously. As the trees ahead thinned, they saw two Indians kneeling on the ground beside a large raft built of logs.
Hey, Sam, look. A raft. With oars and everything. Just what we need. Yeah. Come on, but be careful. We don't want to make any noise. What are we going to do? Sneak up behind those Indians. We'll crack them on the head and then tie them. Then take the raft and be on our way downriver.
The two thieves succeeded in surprising the Indians. They took the raft and headed downriver. Carried by the swift current, they traveled in silence for several hours. Rounding a difficult turn in the river, they saw Pete Chance's scow ahead. At the sight of the boat, Slim turned to his partner and shouted,
Hey, Sam, look ahead. There's a boat.
Look out for your own.
Look, grab it, you jughead. I can. It's gone.
We need it for steering.
It's out of reach, I tell you.
We'll be swept ashore. From the stern of the scow, Pam and her Aunt Flora watched the struggles of the men on the raft. Meanwhile, Sergeant Preston and Constable Redmond had found the two horses the outlaws abandoned. The Indians told the policemen how they'd been struck on the head and tied hand and foot by unknown assailants.
Here are the tracks, Sergeant. See where they shoved the raft into the water? Two crooks not look very far. And not no police bateau hidden in cove. Make better time in bateau than raft. He's right, Sergeant.
The police bateau is near here?
Yes, it's in the cove ahead. The Indians keep it in repair and ready for use at any moment.
We'll get it and head downriver. Come on.
A short time later, after leaving their horses with the Indians, the constable, Sergeant Preston, and the great dog King were headed downriver in the tapering, light, flat-bottomed boat that was especially adapted for use on the river. Neither of the Mounties knew that the raft had been smashed on rocks near shore, and that Sam and Slim, still clutching their saddlebags, managed to stay afloat by clinging to a log. Standing on a plank beside of his scow, Pete Chance threw them a rope, while Tammy handled the steering oar in the bow, and her aunt tried to manage the oar sweep in the stern.
Grab a hold of the rope and I'll haul you aboard.
Right. Steve, made you think it's safe to take them on board?
They're in trouble, aren't they? Unless we take them aboard, they'll drown.
But the constable said it'd be dangerous. They're strangers.
The constable likewise said I'd need help to handle this scow, and he was right. We'll make better time with a couple extra hands for a crew. You go first. All right, give me your hand, stranger. I'll get you out of that river. Thanks a lot. Now you. Yeah. Let me get your hand. That's it. Right. Here you are. We saw your raft hit the rocks.
For pity's sake, Pete, come and take over this oar. Tammy and I are worn out trying to handle them.
Sure thing, Floy. You gents sit down and get your bread. My name's Pete Chance. This is my daughter and my sister.
Glad to know you folks. My name's Samson. Jim Sampson. My partner's name is Jones.
Howdy. Howdy, too.
Tammy's sharp ears had caught Sam Raybatt's hesitation at the name Sam, and his quick recovery as he smoothly introduced himself and his partner. In spite of her suspicions, she smiled to herself when her aunt spoke to the two newcomers.
You two are likely to catch your death of cold after being in the river. But I got some medicine in my carpet bag that'll
These
take
gents can do without that terrible tasting stuff, Flora.
I was only trying to be helpful.
You need any help handling this scow, Mr. Chance?
Yes, I sure do.
Well, then I'll give you a hand. My partner's sort of worn out after our swim.
They let him sit in the deck house with the ladies and rest a while.
Do you have any extra clothing in your saddlebag, Mr. Jones?
Clothing? No, I haven't.
Well, I'll empty the saddlebag for you. That way your things will dry.
Leave that saddlebag alone.
For sakes, there's no need to bite Pam's head off.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, well, that's all right. Had you built the raft yourself?
I know a couple of Indians built it. We swapped our horses for it.
That's too bad. Looks like the Indians got the best of the bargain.
You're right about that. We'd be better off if we stayed in the saddle, but Sam said we'd be better...
What did you say?
I said, Sam, my partner, working the steering oar with your dad. He's...
Sam?
Well, yeah, Well, what I mean is Mr. Sampson. That's his name.
You said Sam.
Well, I call him Sam for short.
The girl had been in the bank when the two robbers were described. She knew that the short, thin man had shot the constable, and that his tall, heavy-set partner was named Sam. The descriptions fitted the newcomer.
Oh, my sakes, Pammy, what's wrong, child? You look like you're going to faint. I'm all right, Aunt Flora. I'll get some smelling salts. Maybe it's seasick. No, I'll be all right. Excuse me, Mr. Jones, I think I'll sit back in the stern.
Well, sure thing.
You just reach back into my carpet bag if you want the smelling salts, dear. The spirits of ammonia there, too.
Constable was hit just as he went through the door.
I see. Was the constable killed?
Nope, the bullet hit him in his gun arm. I reckon he's out looking for the bank robbers now.
Well, if their faces was covered, he'll have a hard time finding them.
He knows who to look for.
He does?
Yeah, the short, skinny one called his partner Sam. The constable figures he's Sam Raybatt, the outlaw.
Hey, Sam, lady fixed me some grub. You want some? Shut up. All right, if you're not hungry.
What did he call you?
Oh, he called me Sam. You see, my name's Sampson, and, he calls me Sam for short.
Yeah?
Well, what are you looking at?
Ooh. The man who shot the constable was short and skinny, just like your partner. You're tall and heavy-set like Sam Raybatt. That gun.
Yeah, this gun says you're right. But you made a mistake. Sam, what's the idea of the gun? Hold your gun on the women while I take care of this critter. Sure thing.
Oh, they're going to rob us. They're robbers, all right. I knew it as soon as the man named Jones called his partner Sam.
Tie the hands and feet, Slim. Right.
I smell it.
Keep quiet. Later, I'll throw you overboard. When you finish tying them, Slim, put ropes on this gent here. You can throw them all in the river. No, I just found out the Mountie you shot's still alive. And as long as I'm in charge, there'll be no murders. Now hurry up and get him tied.
Traveling in the bateau, Sergeant Preston and Constable Redmond had sighted the wreckage of the raft. They had moved close to shore to inspect the debris.
Looks like the river's taking care of those crooks, Sergeant. They must have gone down.
Perhaps not.
You think they made it to shore?
They might have.
If we're going to look for them, we'd better do it now. It'll soon be dark.
Which side of the river do you want to search?
They might be on either side.
Oh, they might have stayed afloat by clinging to a log.
Hey, you're steering to the right.
Yes.
Why?
I see something caught in an eddy near those rocks.
What is it?
A bottle. Medicine bottle. Must have been swept out of the current towards shore.
I suppose someone lost it.
A piece of newspaper inside of it. Someone emptied the bottle, put the newspaper inside, and then corked it.
Let's see the paper.
I'll smash the bottle with my gun. It'll be a lot easier than trying to work the paper through the narrow opening. There.
Seems to me someone went to a great deal of trouble to preserve a newspaper clipping.
More than the clipping, Constable. See here.
It's a note.
Written on a piece of newspaper.
What does it say?
Help. Signed Pam Chance.
Pam?
You know her?
Yes. She and her father and her aunt left town in a scow right after the bank robbery.
The scow must be ahead of us.
Let's hope we reach it before dark.
It may be better if we reach it after dark.
Sergeant Preston resumed his rowing. The two policemen sighted the running lights of the scow shortly after dark.
What is the land? Tied up at the shore for the night.
The lantern lit in the deck house.
I see two men on the far side. I was aboard Pete's scow this morning, Sergeant. I'd recognize it anywhere.
And that's it?
Yes. But I don't see the ladies with Pete.
Let's hope they're still alive.
Shall we board her, Sergeant?
Yes, if we're able to come alongside without being seen.
My lucky there's no moon.
Handling the small boat with practiced skill, the sergeant drew alongside of the scow without being noticed. Fastening a rope to the planking, he swung himself to the deck. A moment later, the great dog King leaped to his side. Making no more noise than shadows, they moved along next to the narrow railing. Preston saw three figures on the floor of the deck house. They were bound and gagged.
Hey, what's going on back there? Probably feet trying to get loose. Well, you better go back and make sure the ropes are tight. That's right. Make sure they are. All right.
As Slim left the bow to go to the deck house, Sergeant Preston shouted, "Stand where you are, you're covered!"
Hey, what?
In the lantern light coming from the deck house, Slim saw the red tunic, striped trousers, and polished boots.
The money.
Throwing caution to the winds, Slim grabbed for his gun. King charged. Constable Redmond opened fire from the bateau, and Preston shouted, "Hold your fire, Constable!" The force of King's charge threw Slim to the deck, where he lay motionless as King stood over him. Preston hadn't taken his eyes from the man in the bow of the boat. He knew Sam would try to take advantage of the momentary confusion, and he was right. Sam's right hand moved like a striking snake. As his gun cleared leather, Preston's bullet smashed the weapon.
King has the other one, Sergeant.
Come aboard, Constable. We'll handcuff these two crooks, then free the prisoners. A short time later, Pete, his sister, and daughter were freed. They told the policeman what had happened, and Pammy explained the bottled note.
You see, I suspected they were crooks, but I didn't know what to do about it. So when I was alone in the rear of the scow, I emptied Aunt Flora's medicine bottles and stuffed them with a note. I threw at least a dozen bottles overboard.
We found one, Pammy, and as soon as we read your note, we knew where to look for Sam and his partner.
That's the first time your dispensary served a good purpose, Flora.
Aren't you glad I brought it along?
I sure am. And I'm glad those two crooks didn't know we were carrying gold.
They had plenty of stolen gold and cash without taking yours, Pete.
Then you found the bank cash,
Yes. Saddlebags and money belts.
You'd have never found it if Sam hadn't talked. I talked because when the judge finds out that you shot a Mountie, things are going to go hard with you, Slim. I figured by turning state's evidence, we'd get a lighter sentence.
You may have outsmarted yourself.
Constable, how's your arm?
Fine, Pammy.
Oh, you certainly had a busy day. Why don't you come over here, Constable, and I'll make you some tea?
Oh, the Constable and Pammy make a fine-looking couple, don't they, Pete?
I wish I were young again.
Goodness knows the saying's romantic enough. Don't you think so, Sergeant Preston?
I think the setting is peaceful, Miss Flora, now that this case is closed.
Sergeant Preston will return in just a moment with a word about our next exciting adventure. Say, at breakfast at your house, does Mother have to be a sort of short-order expert like this?
Say, can't I have some breakfast cereal that isn't so terribly sweet?
Gee, Mom, I'd like my breakfast cereal real sweet this morning.
Well, I don't want mine sweet at all.
Now, the way to solve that problem is to serve everybody delicious Quaker puffed rice or Quaker puffed wheat.
Yes, everybody agrees there's nothing like the toasty, nut-like flavor of the good, natural grain.
Everybody likes the sun-ripened natural flavor that old Mother Nature puts into it.
It's never coated with factory sweetening.
And that's the beauty of Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice.
Your whole family, Dad, Mom, the youngsters, can sweeten them with sugar or use no sugar at all. Whichever way suits their own special taste.
And don't forget, there's added food values of restored natural grain amounts of vitamin B1, niacin, and iron in every spoonful your family eats.
So be sure that you have at your breakfast table tomorrow morning, for everybody to reach for, a package of delicious Quaker puffed rice and Quaker puffed wheat. For a delightful treat everybody likes to eat.
They come only in the big red and blue package with a sealed inner lining that keeps them crisp as can be. And now, here is Sergeant Preston.
Reporting for duty, Inspector.
Sergeant, there's a madman or a heartless criminal on the loose in the territory. He's a poisoner, and we must get him.
Poisoner, sir?
Yes. He's poisoning wild animals and making no effort to trap them. This thing is allowed to spread, it may mean the death of every wild animal between here and the Arctic Circle.
Our people need those animals and their pelts, Inspector.
If they're going to survive, yes. And if you're going to survive, Sergeant, you'd better be prepared to face death yourself. This man is dangerous.
Sergeant Preston starts out to find a heartless man who poisons the helpless animals of the wild. But his trail leads to humans who suffer from the deadly criminal. And finally, Preston faces death himself. Be sure to hear this next exciting adventure. These radio dramas, a feature of Sergeant Preston of the Yukon Incorporated, are created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Enterprises, directed by Fred Flowerday, and supervised by Charles D. Livingston. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. Sergeant Preston of the Yukon is brought to you every Tuesday and Thursday at the same time by Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice, the breakfast cereals shot from guns. Only Quaker Pack-O-10 has wheat and rice shot from guns. That's Quaker Pack-O-10, a regular cereal pantry. 6 different delicious, ready-to-serve cereals. 10 crisp, fresh individual servings. At breakfast, you can take your pick of the pack. Have your own separate individual package. Enjoy a different cereal, extra fresh every morning. Just remember, only Quaker Pack-O-10 has all your family's cereal favorites. Try Quaker Pack-O-10. You'll be glad you did. This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye, good luck, and good health from Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice. So long. Listen tomorrow at the same time to The Green Hornet, brought to you by the drink that makes you feel fresh again, delicious Orange Crush. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
In just a moment, X-1. But first, some of the funniest situations you've ever witnessed occur every Wednesday night when the devilish imagination of MC Jack Bailey gets to work on NBC's Truth or Consequences. You won't believe it until you hear it, so listen in tomorrow. Then another laugh session is in store later on with the wise and witty Groucho Marx as he and contestants play You Bet Your Life. While the melodic note in your Wednesday evening schedule is music and fun on Airtime with Giselle McKenzie.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire.
From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents X minus 1. Tonight, the Mark Clifton story, Star Bright.
Well,
finally happened. I've known it would for a long time now. That's why I'm writing this, in the hope that you'll understand and not think me mad. Whatever the outcome, I hope you will not judge me too harshly for what I've done or failed to do.
Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes.
Come in. Oh, hello, Chief.
I just wanted to let you know, sir, that we're doing everything we can to find the children.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
We've got 300 men out combing the woods for them. The Army base has volunteered another 100 men, and we've sent an all-points bulletin to every police unit in the country.
Fine.
I just wanted to check and make certain our description is accurate. Your little girl, Star, was wearing a blue dress and white sandals. Is that right?
That's right.
And she is how old?
6 years old.
And the little Howell boy, how old was he?
7, I believe, yes. 7.
Thank you. Well, I'll be in touch with you.
Oh, that's very good of you, Chief. Oh, by the way,
yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Howell, how are they taking it?
Well, they're pretty upset, naturally. Mr. Howell, he's out with the men searching.
Yes, I know.
Mrs. Howell's in the car outside.
Ruth is outside? Why didn't she come in?
Well, she said she'd rather not.
Oh, I see.
Do you, Pete?
Well, Mrs. Howell, I thought...
I decided to come in. I'm not going to sit on my feelings any longer.
Now, Mrs. Howell...
No, I have to say this. Pete, Bill and I have been your neighbors for almost a year now. Our children have been almost inseparable.
I know that.
Then how can you just sit here writing letters? You may be lost somewhere or in trouble. Why aren't you out with Bill and the rest of them searching?
I can't. Ruth, I know how you feel. Please try to understand. I intend to help find Bobby and Star, but I must do this first.
Why? What's so important about
Ruth,
it?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Then why don't you act like a man? You're inhuman.
Please.
I don't ever want to see you or speak to you again. Ever.
If you won't.
What was that, Mr. Holmes?
Nothing. Chief, if you don't mind, I'd like to be alone for a moment.
Okay, Mr. Holmes. I'll keep in touch.
How can I tell them? How can I make them understand? I write this to you because they must be made to understand somehow, but I have to begin at the beginning. I think I first noticed it one evening when Star was 3 years old. I was in my reading chair going over some work. Star was sitting on the floor in the circle of light with her blunt-nosed scissors and scraps of paper. Her long silence made me glance down.
And then we glue this together with a line here and here.
Star?
Like that.
Star?
What is it, Daddy?
Can I see what you've made?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's quite a coincidence.
What?
You know what they call a piece of paper joined together with a half twist like this?
No.
It's called a Mobius strip.
You mean somebody already made one?
A man named Mobius, mathematician, long time ago.
Did he know you can put a line on it like that, so it has one side all to it?
Yes, he did. Someday I'll tell you what it means.
Now, Dewey.
What?
Tell me about a Mobius strip.
It's very complicated.
Then read me about it.
Oh, you wouldn't understand, honey.
Read me anyway.
Okay, young lady. But I warn you, it'll be like one of those nonsense rhymes. At least, I hope it will. At 3 years, a child shouldn't have enough functioning intelligence to put together a Mobius strip. I've known for some time now that Star was an exceptionally bright child. Just how bright, I had no idea. Not until I began to read to her from an advanced physics book, The Theory of the Mobius Strip. To the power of infinity. Now then, are you sufficiently mixed up, young lady?
Daddy, you know what?
What?
You read too slow. You say a word, then I think a long time, then you say another word.
Oh, I see. Just, what would you have me do about it?
Well, teach me to read, then I can think as quick as I want.
The word quickly, it's an adverb.
Oh, Daddy, really? You pick on such unimportant things. I want to learn to read.
Okay. When would you like to begin?
Right now, tonight.
Before she went to bed that evening, my daughter was able to read. In the months that followed, a great deal happened. Some of our friends, like Jim Petrie, have dropped in and been amused to see her on the floor, rapidly turning the pages of an encyclopedia as big as she is. Oh, sit down, Jim.
Oh, thanks.
Star, aren't you going to say hello to Uncle Jim?
Hello.
I see she's taken to looking at the pictures in the encyclopedia, huh?
Oh, yeah, yes. Come on in the library, Jim. I'd like to talk to you privately.
Yeah, sure thing.
Bring your drink, huh?
Okay.
I'll shut the door here.
You have to be told to bring your drink?
Oh, why all the secrecy?
Sit down. Now, Jim, we've been friends, you and I, ever since engineering school.
So?
Neither of us have ever mentioned it, but one of the reasons we were drawn together is because both of us have IQ somewhere up in the genius ratings.
Oh, I think it was more than that.
Well, that played a part. It isn't easy to be exceptional in a world which regards mediocrity as the only behavior above suspicion.
Well, we all have to live with our afflictions. Yours and mine is a quick mind and a dull environment.
What would you do, Jim, if you were a parent, as I am, whose wife had died, as Eleanor did, and you discovered that your only child was, well, afflicted with a fantastically brilliant mind?
Star? Oh, come on, Pete. Any little girl who's content just to look at the pictures in the encyclopedia.
Jim.
I mean, after
Jim.
all. What?
She wasn't looking at the pictures.
Huh?
She was reading the pages.
What? But she was turning them as fast as humanly possible.
She was reading them. But I know. I've tested her. She not only remembers everything, she understands the concepts. She even gets impatient with. Well, have you measured it? Well, I have given her IQ tests, aptitude tests, reaction tables, all the paraphernalia for measuring something we know nothing about.
And?
Tests don't work.
How do you mean?
Well, either the tables are screwy or stars beyond all measurement.
Pete, are you sure you're not projecting this? I mean, isn't it possible that a few accidental...
Daddy.
Yes.
To put their food in.
I've got lonely.
Okay, come on in.
Uncle Jim, would you read me?
Smart is one thing, but how come every time you talk
Why
about it,
don't
the kid
you read
pops in?
your own story?
Because I'm only 2, and 3-year-olds can't read.
And so she had found the answer to her affliction by herself. Conformity. She had already learned to conceal her intelligence. So many of us break our hearts before we learn that. When Star was 4 years old, according to state law, her mind had developed enough so she could attend nursery school.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, honey. Did you like nursery school?
Oh, yes, it was fun.
What'd you learn today?
Not much. I tried to cut out paper dolls, but the scissors kept slipping.
Now look, Star, don't overdo it. That's as bad as being too quick. The idea is that everybody has to be just about standard average. That's the only thing people will tolerate. It's expected that a little girl of 4 should know how to cut out paper dolls properly.
I guess that's the hard part of it, Daddy, to know how much you want to know.
Yeah. That's the part I always found hard when I was young.
So if
It's really
anyone else is
all right.
concerned,
I let one little girl show me how to cut them out, so now she likes me. She just took charge of me and told the other kids they should like me too. So they did because she's the leader. Even if she is one of the stupids.
What?
The stupids. That's the trouble with you, Daddy. You don't grasp things right away just because you're only a tween.
Between? I assume that means an in-between?
That's right.
smart and
You're
stupid.
in between the stupid and the bright.
And you're bright.
Yes. I made those names up when I was very little.
How little?
Oh, about 6 months old.
The thoughts began to whirl around in my head after that one. A small fear kept growing inside me. How profound was this little imp that was staring up at me? How much did she understand already? Even as the thought formed, I learned the final horrifying fact about my little girl.
It's all right, Daddy. Don't be afraid of me.
But how did you know that I was thinking anything like that?
Well, I just figured it out.
Star,
Yes, Daddy?
now I want you to answer me honestly when I ask you this next question, will you?
Yes.
Star, can you read people's minds? Are you a telepath? Well,
Yes, Daddy.
I thought so. You read my mind just now, didn't you?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to know something else.
I.
Can you teach me to do it?
You're already learning it, Daddy. The trouble is you're so slow you didn't even know you were learning.
Oh, I see.
Daddy,
Yeah?
you know what I wish?
What do you wish?
Well, nothing.
All the same, I knew exactly what she was wishing. She was wishing for a companion whose mind would match her own. You see, I was becoming telepathic. Just a minute. Well, hello.
You little girl, Daddy?
Yeah, she's upstairs. Who are you?
I'm Robert.
Robert who?
Robert Howell. My mother and father moved next door yesterday.
Oh, well, come in, Robert.
I'd like to play with your little girl.
How'd you know I had a little girl?
Oh, I just know.
Oh, I see. And how old are you?
I'm 6.
Well, I'll ask Star to come
Sounds like
downstairs. I'm
trouble.
sure she'll be glad to see you.
Yes, she will.
Tell me, Robert, are you a tween or a bride?
Oh, I'm a... What did you say, Mr. Holmes?
Nothing. I didn't have to say it. I could read his thought. He was a bride, and it was no accident that he and his parents had moved next door. Somehow, Star had managed to make contact with him, and they had arranged the whole thing. A father is prepared to lose his daughter eventually, but not so soon, not so terribly soon. They're coming. Oh, hello, Ruth. Something wrong?
No, I was just looking at Bobby. I thought he was over here playing with Star.
Well, I thought they were over your place. Noticed that they've been disappearing for a couple of hours almost every afternoon.
For that. If they come to
Keep
us,
it
tell
up.
them to come over
Keep
and
it
have
up.
some milk
Come on.
and cookies.
More.
Yeah, I'll do
Do it
that.
more.
Oh, by the way, this must belong to your Star.
Oh, what's that?
Some sort of
Keep it
coin or
up.
medal or
Did
something.
you see
I
the
found it
trigger
out
for
in the
these people?
backyard after Star and Bobby were playing. It looks brand new.
Let's have a look.
Oh,
Me opening my
something
mouth
wrong?
is the
Did you
second
say you
trigger.
found this in
Is
your
the
backyard?
renewable fuel
Yes.
rocket on the Air
What
Force
is it?
Base.
I don't know.
Well, I've got to get back. We'll be getting home for dinner soon, so see you later.
Yes.
Hello?
Jim,
Yes.
do you have a portable spectrophotometer?
Well, sure, we've got a dozen here at the lab.
Pack one up and get over here right away, will you?
Well, Pete, I don't quit till 5.
Look, do as I say, huh? It's important.
Well, okay.
Well, let me check the amount of radioactivity again. You've checked it 4 times. That's about it. Okay. What's your opinion of this coin?
Well, first of all, let me say this. It's the real McCoy.
And?
Also, it doesn't exist.
Makes sense.
Look, Pete, that coin is pre-Egyptian. It's hand-cast. It's made out of one of the oldest bronze alloys, one that was lost 4,000 years ago.
So it's 4,000 years old.
It is and it isn't.
What do you mean?
Listen, Pete, old coins show wear. The edges get rounded with handling. The surface oxidizes. The molecular structure changes, crystallizes. Pete, this coin is authentic, and yet it's brand new. It might have been struck off yesterday.
You realize, of course, that that's impossible.
Where'd you get it, Pete?
I don't know. I think the kid's got it.
Star?
Yes.
How?
I don't know. I'm almost afraid to think.
Well, why not ask her?
She isn't around. She and Robert are off playing somewhere.
Do you know where?
No, Oh, Jim, it's just too fantastic. It isn't possible.
I haven't said a word.
I know what you're thinking.
As a matter of fact, I was thinking something fantastic. How did you guess?
I just guessed. Jim, let's find those kids right now.
Okay.
Star. Robert. Let's try to play with them.
Star?
Because they already know you're looking
Robert?
for them, so they're gonna be like,
Not in here.
I'm running back at the
Try
last.
back here. I hear something. Pete, it's coming from the room we were just in. That's impossible. There's no place they could have hidden. I'm going to open that door.
Peekaboo, Uncle Jim.
There they were, in the middle of the playroom, holding hands, a little shamefaced, a little defiant. Star, Robert, where have you been? Now, I know you weren't in this room a few seconds ago, and there are no windows you could get through. Well?
It's nothing, Daddy. We just went a little way.
That is not answering me. Where did you go?
You see, Star, we found this coin.
Come on.
I shouldn't have to tell you, both just tweens.
Star, I'm still your daddy. Even brights have feelings about their parents. Now.
I tried to ESP you, Daddy.
Does she mean extrasensory perception? Yeah.
You just don't ESP good, Daddy. Robert does it very nicely. He can always find you in a hide.
That's because you don't have much imagination.
I do, too.
Yeah, but you always have to look at a book to ESP what's in it, so you need an ESP smudge. I just look at where you left the smudge, and I go to that place, and that time, there you are.
Oh, but that's cheating.
It isn't. You just haven't got imagination. You can't teleport yourself to a place that hasn't been.
I can, too. What about the moon people? They haven't been yet.
Oh, Star, they have too. Not for your daddy, they haven't, but for the things from Arcturus. The moon people were about 10 million light years ago.
Now, wait a minute, kids. Hold on. Jim, have you been listening to this?
I think I heard it.
Now, look, kids. You're either playing a big joke on us older folks, or you've actually figured out a way to travel to places in the past. Right?
And in the future, too, Daddy.
Star, could you tell us how you do it?
It would be easier if I could ESP it to you.
Well, just pretend we're stupids and tell us in words.
Well, you remember the Mobius strip?
I remember. She made it about a year ago, Jim.
Well, you join the ends of a strip of paper with a half twist to make one surface. Then you take a sheet and give it a half twist so you can join the edges together all over.
That's Klein's bottle.
How do you know about that?
Yes, we know that. Go on.
Well, then you take a cube. You imagine a cube, and you twist it.
Tesseract?
Shh, go on, Star.
And you ESP the twisted cube all together the same way you did Klein's bottle. Now, if you do that big enough, all around you, so you're sort of folded into it, you can teleport yourself any place you want to go. And that's all there is to it.
Jim, what do you think?
I need another drink, Pete. A big one.
That's all there was to it. The line, the plane, the cube, those were Euclidean physics. The Mobius strip, the Klein bottle, the twisted cube, those were Einsteinian physics. Well, I was pretty advanced in both, but I'd have to do some heavy thinking to really grasp it. Meanwhile, the two little kids stood there staring at us.
Star, Robert, can you tell us some of the places you've been?
All over, Uncle Jim. The Romans and the Egyptians and places like that.
Is that how you got the coin?
I found it. It wasn't stealing, was it, Daddy? I just found it in the dirt.
We'll skip that for a minute. What about going to the future?
There isn't any future, Mr. Holmes.
What's that?
It's kind of hard to explain. Even Star doesn't get it.
Oh.
But when she gets to be 6, like I am, she'll probably understand.
Well, try to explain it to me.
Well, it's all connected. Just like a Mobius strip. If you go far enough, you'll get back to where it starts again. You start with the cavemen, then us men, then atomic men, the moon men, planet men, star men, and brights. Only somehow...
What?
The brights got off the strip. We haven't been able to find them any place in time.
I'd sure like to know how they got off and where they are.
Now, look, kids, this kind of thing can be dangerous. You might be eaten by a dinosaur or something.
Oh, we just ESP ourselves right out of there.
Well, anyway, I don't want you leaving this part of the time strip. Not again.
Daddy.
Now, I may be just a tween, but I'm your father.
I always mind you, Daddy.
Yeah? What about going off the block?
But, Daddy, we didn't cross a single street.
Nevertheless...
Pete, think of what you're doing. Pictures, specimens, recordings, not only from the past, but from the future. Pete, I beg you.
Jim, this is my daughter.
But what a contribution. We could be ages ahead of ourselves.
No. Star. Robert, I'd like your promise you won't leave present time again. Well?
Okay. Okay.
All right. Now run along. Robert's mother has some cookies and milk for you.
Okay. See you later, Daddy. See you there. Back with the movie.
Jim, I'm sorry. Well, I suppose if I had a daughter, are you going to report this?
And have everybody give me the horse laugh? I may be just a tween, Pete, but I'm not an utter fool.
It took me almost 6 months to do it. I don't know how many times I visualized a cube and ESP did a half twist and tried to seal the edges around me. And then once there was a flash, just for an instant. I was concentrating on Caesar's triumphant march into Rome. And for the briefest instant, there it was. I was standing on a roadway watching, and then it vanished. Hey.
Hi, Daddy.
What are you two characters plotting?
Nothing, Daddy.
Well, I'm going to my study for a while. Star?
Yes, Daddy.
You remember your promise about not leaving present time, don't you?
Yes, Daddy.
You going to keep it?
Yes, Daddy.
Okay. I'm holding you to it. Hello?
Hello, Pete, this is Ruth Howell.
Yeah?
Are the kids there?
No?
When did you see them last?
What time is it? Oh, about 10 this morning, 6 or 7 hours ago. Why?
Pete, I'm worried.
What's up?
Well, they were upstairs in Bobby's room. I was in the living room. Now, I could swear they didn't come downstairs, and yet, when I went up there, they were gone. That was over 5 hours ago.
Ruth, are you sure they didn't come down?
I was in that living room every moment. Pete, I'm afraid.
Now, Ruth, don't get panicky. I'm coming right over. Just don't get panicky. There wasn't a trace of them. Well, that isn't exactly true. Remember what Robert had said about Star leaving an ESP smudge? Well, I was able to catch it in Robert's room. It had something to do with where the brights went when they got off the time strip. That's it, of course.
Yeah. See?
They wouldn't disobey by leaving present time. But isn't it possible that there is more than one present time? Isn't it possible that another now coexists with ours? That's the clue,
This is why
of course.
I smoke weed when I listen to X.
I'm going to call the police, Pete.
I don't think it'll do any good.
We've got to find them. They'd have come back by now.
Yes, if they could.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
What are you going to do?
I'm going back to my study to think.
To think? Aren't you going to look for them?
I have to figure out where to look.
Well, I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. I'm calling the police.
That was this morning. I've been doing some desperate concentrating since then, Jim. I'm writing this down so you'll know. I've already managed to go back to the time of Cheops and ahead to the time when men were navigating to distant planets in a matter of days. But the big job remains. How to get into a dimension parallel with our own at the same time. I figured out that to get the equivalent of a Mobius strip with depth, you must use the supercube, the tesseract. That's what I'm working on at the moment. If I succeed, there is a possibility I may not be able to get back. I hope you will be able to make Bill and Ruth Howell understand. Okay, now if I take 6
Go
cubes,
down as some sort of
fold them in one another so that every angle is a right angle. Yes, all right, I've got that. And now I've been folding. I ESP the tesseract, a half twist around myself.
Mr. Holmes.
There's the cops right there.
Holmes, you in there? Mr. Holmes. We'll have to break you in. It's locked from the inside.
What is it ever locked from the outside?
Pete, where are you? Pete?
That's funny. The door was locked from the inside, but here's his fountain pen with the ink still wet. But he's gone.
So you're trapped all in this house and kidnap those kids.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features the final installment of Frederick Pohl's novel, Slave Ship, story of a world engaged in the wildest of all possible non-wars, where the order of the day was even wilder still. Spare every animal and throw the men to the wolves. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Star Bright, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Mark Clifton and adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Sarah Fussell, Lawson Zerbe, Bill Quinn, Billy Harris, Ralph Bell, and Kate Wilkinson. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of...
New voices. We need native English speak media experience. If this sounds like a good fit.
The breakfast cereal shot from guns present the challenge of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. On King, on you huskies! Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush, with Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice, bringing you the adventures of Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog, Yukon King, as they meet the challenge of the Yukon. Fellas and girls, picture yourself dog sledding hour after hour on the Yukon Trail, like Sergeant Preston. You'd soon find out that real stamina calls for a nourishing He-Man breakfast. So remember, every time you eat a heaping bowlful of delicious, crisp Quaker puffed wheat or Quaker puffed rice, you get extra food values of restored natural grain amounts of vitamin B1, niacin, and iron. For a nourishing treat, eat Quaker puffed rice.
We air your audio question first and give you a reply on the live.
Jeremy Ward operated a freight line between Whitehorse and Dawson. A sturdy building in Whitehorse served as both a home and office. Old Hank, a retired dog driver, was Jeremy's closest friend and frequently came into town to visit Jeremy and Jeremy's grandson, an orphan named Billy.
Go on, Hank. Tell me some more.
All right. Billy, wide-eyed, and old Hank sat at a front window. Hank was in the midst of one of his fabulous stories of the trail, while Jeremy worked on records in an inner room.
The wolves were coming at you on the trail.
Yes, sir, 10 of them. Well, there I was.
Oh, Grandpa's interrupted again.
Yes, you don't keep coming this way. Jeremy, I told you I'd let you know when I saw that messenger. What makes him so all-fired important? I declare I never saw you so squirmy.
Well, Hank, I didn't want to say anything before, but I can tell you now. That messenger is coming from Diamond Bill Davis.
From Diamond Bill, you say?
Yes, he's a collector of jewels. He thinks he's like Diamond Jim Brady. He brought a fortune in diamonds with him when he came from the States.
There was a piece of the paper about Diamond Bill. Said he was going to ship $1 million worth of diamonds back to the States. He's going to sell them there.
It was a fool idea to put that in the paper. It's an invite to every crook in the Yukon.
Is he really sending down $1 million worth of diamonds?
Well, that's stretching it, but he's sending a lot. People around here don't have much use for fancy jewelry and diamonds. He'll get a better price for the jewels in the States.
Yes, Harry. Are you going to handle the shipment?
I'm to see that the diamonds get as far as Dawson. After that, it's up to the steamship company.
Those diamonds would make a big haul for Cook.
And that's why the shipping plans are mighty secret. No one knows how the diamonds are going to be sent to Dawson or when. Not even me.
You don't know?
Nope. The man I'm expecting from Mr. Davis will bring word about when and how we handle the cargo. Now, you keep watching out that window, Hank. Let me know as soon as you see a man with a dog team.
I told you I'd let you know.
We're watching, Grandpa.
Now go on back to your office and let me get on with the story I was telling Billy.
All right, but just keep watching, that's all.
You gotta tell them what's going on.
Now, where was I at?
A lot of ammunition, and the wolves were closing in.
Oh, yes, that's right. 20 wolves.
10 wolves.
Oh, 10, huh? Well, there I was, with 10 hungry wolves showing their fangs. I expected them to finish me off most any second. Then I heard a man yelling in the distance. "Get him, King," he yelled. "Get him, King," just like that.
Then what?
But then I saw a great big dog streaking across the snow. He was coming like greased lightning.
Was Yukon King?
Sure enough. And he lit into that pack of wolves, fighting, tearing, and dashing and leaping. I tell you, I never seen the like of it. Then Sergeant Preston with his dog team comes into view. He's coming fast and shooting with the gun in each hand. Then those wolves, they just skedaddled. They got out of there in a hurry.
Oh, golly. Oh, Hank, look outside.
Huh?
There comes a man with a dog team. Maybe that's the messenger Grandpa's waiting for.
Sure enough. Jeremy! Here comes the messenger, the man you're waiting for.
Good, by golly, I'm glad he's here at last.
Hey there. Jeremy Ward around?
Yeah, that's my name. Come in here. Come in fast. I'm waiting for you.
I have a letter for you.
I know what you have.
I had a hard time on the trail. I was delayed a little bit.
That's all right. You're here at last.
You didn't tie your dog.
Now, they'll stay where they are. They're all right for a minute or so.
Where's that letter?
Yeah. Get the letter right here, Mr. Ward.
Yeah, bring it in my office. Hank, you'd better come along.
All right, Jeremy.
Mister, do you mind if I go out and look at your dog?
Oh, I know. No, go ahead, sir.
Billy, if you're going out, see that you pull on your pocket.
Oh, yes, sir.
Now, let's get back to my office. I'm downright anxious to see what that letter has to say.
Well, I figured.
The messenger and old Hank followed Jeremy into the office. Billy hurriedly pulled on his parka, then went outside to admire the messenger's dog team. The boy was particularly impressed by a strong, powerful lead dog. He bent and stroked the animal's ears. The 10-year-old boy admired the other dogs and then moved to a position behind the sled and stood on the runners.
Golly, now I feel just like Sergeant Preston.
The game of make-believe appealed to Billy. He fancied himself as a brave Mountie who maintained law and order in the Yukon Territory. He whispered,
"Come on, King. On, King, on, you huskies."
Then, growing more bold, he picked up the whip and in a louder voice said,
"On, King, on, you huskies."
The dogs became more alert. The leader turned back and looked inquiringly at Billy as he waved the whip and stood on the runners. Bolder then, the boy raised his voice and shouted as he cracked the whip.
"On, King, on, you huskies." Golly. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Hold on there.
The leader of the dogs took off at a fast clip, and the others pulled their weight. Billy tried to jump off the sled, but found that the lacing of his boots had become tangled with the jagged saw teeth of the brake. He was caught. He dropped the whip and clung desperately to the handle so he would not be thrown and dragged.
Grandpa, help me. Help me. Stop the dog.
His cries brought Jeremy to the door with Hank and the messenger close behind.
It's your dog team and your sled.
They're running away with Billy. Come back here. Come back here. Come back here.
They can't hear you now. They've gone too far. We've got to get after them.
But how? We can't travel on foot.
We've got to find another team. By the time we get dogs lined up and hitched to a sled, those critters will have Billy halfway to the border.
I'll see what I can find.
Billy was gripped by a paralyzing fear. The dogs soon left the regular trail and dashed across uneven ground. Billy clung desperately to the back of the pitching, swaying sled, and then his hands became numb. He was thrown off the sled and landed in the thicket by the trail. His head struck the side of a huge rock. For a time, he lay unconscious. He recovered in the shelter of the rock and underbrush. But he was only half conscious when he heard the voices of two men from the opposite side of the massive boulder.
Can you open that old man's safe, Jeremy Ward? That's easy when we've got nothing to worry about. Just open her up and get that letter. Yeah, but Baxter, are you sure Ward will have the letter in his safe? Well, of course he will, Slick. Where else would he keep it? But when Ward finds the letter's gone, he'll think back to the people who worked for him who knew about his safe. And he'll think of me. I'll be the first one suspected. No, he won't. Besides that, when he finds the letter's gone, he'll know there's a plan afoot to steal the Davis diamonds. Then the shipping plans will be changed. I figured all that out, Slick. Yeah? When you steal a letter, take whatever cash is in the safe.
We use that to frame someone for the robbery. Let's hear some more. Who do we frame? My old Hank. But he's Jeremy Ward's best friend. Yeah, knows all about Ward's business. He probably knows how to open Ward's safe. I see. Now, Hank lives in a shack between here and town. We'll make a copy of the plans for shipping the diamonds, then we'll hide the letter and the stolen cash in Hank's house. Then what? As soon as we have the stuff planted in Hank's house, we'll find some way to get Hank out of the way, so it'll look like an accident. After he's dead, the constable will go through his possessions. Then they'll find the stolen cash and the letter. You think Ward will believe his old friend turned crook? What else can he believe? He'll figure no one else has seen the shipping plans for the diamonds, so there'll be no reason to change the plans. Baxter, that's downright smart. Once we know how and when the diamonds are to be sent to Dawson, we can figure a way to get them. This will be the biggest jewel robbery the Yukon's ever seen. We better start for town now. It'll be dark when we get there. Hey, wait. If anyone sees me in town, they're likely to put 2 and 2 together. Remember that I work for Jeremy, that I might know how to open his safe. It won't be hard for you to keep out of sight. We'll stay away from the regular trail. Now let's get started.
Billy's head hurt terribly, but he'd been afraid to stir for fear the men who plotted against his grandpa would discover him on the opposite side of the big rock. He sobbed softly as the 2 men moved away.
Those crooks. Those dirty, scheming crooks.
When he tried to stand, Billy felt as though the world were spinning. His head throbbed where he had struck it on the rock. And then he seemed to see a million lights. An instant later, he slumped to the ground, unconscious for a second time. By the time old Hank, Jeremy, and Dave, the messenger, had found a sled and snowshoes to go in search of Billy, snow had begun to fall. This and a high wind soon wiped out the trail. Then darkness came, but the 3 kept on. In the meantime, Billy regained consciousness on a bunk inside a cabin. He looked up and by the light of an oil lamp saw a man whose face wore a look of anxiety. The man wore a parka that concealed his uniform. Billy didn't know that he was Sergeant Preston.
You must be one.
Take it easy, son. Don't try to talk until you feel stronger.
Where am I?
In a cabin. I found you in the woods and brought you here. You've been unconscious for a long time.
You're one of them.
What?
I heard you talking. You're planning to rob the safe. To kill old Hank.
Oh, steady, son.
Which one are you, Slick or Baxter?
Slick. Baxter. I'm neither one of those men.
You are. You must be or you wouldn't have found me here. Now I suppose you're going to kill me, too.
I found you unconscious beside a big rock. Put you on my sled and brought you here. You had a nasty bump on the head. Now tell me, son, what's your name?
Right. Oh.
Easy. Oh, unconscious again. Boy's badly hurt. Wonder who he is and what he heard. A robbery and a murder. We'll continue our adventure in just a moment. Say, what's up? Who's on the warpath?
Oh, warpath. Me, Barry Hatchet.
Well, what goes on?
Me now, big chief. Make celebration.
Oh, I see. Congratulations are in order. And say, I have something I'd like to give you because it's just what a big chief ought to have for breakfast every morning.
Must be special big for big chief.
Oh, it is. Everything about Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice is big. Take a look at the big red and blue packages.
Ah, me like colors, red and blue.
And did you ever see any cereal so deliciously big and crisp as Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice?
Oh, plenty big.
Yes, those choice premium kernels of wheat and rice shot from guns are actually exploded up to 8 times normal size.
Big chief, like 'em big.
And what a big eating treat, too. They're shot from guns to make 'em crisp and tender, bigger and better tasting. There's bang-up nut-like flavor in every big, luscious mouthful.
Me want heap big bowlful now.
Coming up, Big Chief. Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice are ready to serve. We just top 'em with milk or cream and fruit, and then go to it. And as all you fellas and girls know, you can always have those second and third helpings
Because Quaker puffed wheat and
Everybody
rice
said
are
he has lots of money.
But I'm talking about like really stylish women, confident, like just top notch on every front. And then you see her on the arm of a guy with a massive belly and receding hairlines and problems with personal hygiene, possibly. I mean, this could be an extreme example, you know, I put that up.
now to continue. Jeremy Ward was assisted by his old friend Hank and a messenger named Dave in searching for his 10-year-old grandson who had been carried off on a sled by a runaway dog team. The three beat through the wind and snow in the Yukon night, not knowing that Sergeant Preston had found Billy and that at that very moment the boy lay unconscious in old Hank's cabin. Meanwhile, Slick and Baxter crept toward the rear of the building that served Jeremy Ward as a home and an office.
There's no lights in there, Slick. I think the old man's going to bed this early.
Well, unless he changed his way of living. More likely is at one of the cafes down the street.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Just like old Ward never locks the door.
This is going to be a pushover.
Better close the door.
The safe is right over here. Keep close to me. I've got a hunk of candle here. I'll light it. If we're not disturbed, we can copy the letter right here. Then take the original and the cash to old Hank's cabin.
In the meantime, in old Hank's cabin, Sergeant Preston had become increasingly concerned by the prolonged unconsciousness of Billy. Finally, he opened the door and called.
King, come in here, boy. That's it, fella. King, I think we better not try to move the boy. He may have a fractured skull. We're going to write a note, King. You're going to take it into town. I'll tie it to your collar in plain sight, and whoever sees it will take it to the doctor. You'll bring him here, boy. There. Hold still, fella. Just fasten this to your collar. I hope you know what I'm talking about, King. Town. Understand? Town. All right, boy. Get going, King, to town. Good boy. You know what I meant.
The great dog, Yukon King, racing toward town, passed two men headed in the opposite direction, but he paid no attention to them. He was intent on carrying out his master's orders. The men were Slick and Baxter. They were on their way to old Hank's cabin, and they carried a sum of money from Jeremy Ward's safe. Also a letter they had carefully copied by candlelight. In the dim light, they could see a parka-covered figure and dogs outside the cabin.
Yeah, it looks like old Hank's got himself a team of dogs.
Yeah, likewise a sled.
Yeah, seems to be staking them out for the night.
That takes care of one thing I was worried about.
Yeah, what's that?
I was afraid Hank might have an alibi. It wouldn't do to try to frame him for something that happened this evening if he was spending the time with Jeremy Ward.
We needn't worry about that now. There he goes inside.
Should we stay back until he puts out the light? We'll go and jump him now.
I don't hanker to waste any time. We'll go and jump him now.
Sergeant Preston had been outside attending to the dogs. Before he removed his parka, he crossed the dimly lit room and bent over the bunk to examine the boy. He found Billy's pulse more regular and his breathing more natural. Then Billy's eyelids fluttered and his lips moved slowly. Sergeant Preston bent low, straining to catch any word the boy might utter. He was so intent that he didn't hear the barely perceptible sound of the door opening. When he noticed a draft of wind, he started to turn. Then the door flew wide and two men leaped across the room.
Get him, Slick, right?
The barrel of Slick's gun came down on Sergeant Preston's head with stunning force.
Yeah, that did it.
Hey, Baxter, look. That's not old Hank.
Huh? Sure enough.
I'll get this park open. We'll see who it is.
Look there. There's a kid on the bunk. You sure this is the right cabin? You sure Hank hasn't moved?
Great Scott.
Huh?
Look. Look what's beneath the parka.
A red coat.
Baxter's a Mountie.
And look who it is. Sergeant Preston.
This is a fine kettle of fish. Now what do we do?
Let's see if he's alive.
I didn't hit him hard enough to kill. Besides, the hood of the parka took up some of the blow.
He's alive, all right.
Baxter, what's he doing here? And who's that kid on the bunk?
How do I know?
Preston gets in.
Point is, the Mountie is here, and we slugged him. How are we going to account for that?
I don't know. But we better tie him before he comes to.
Yeah. Well, there's some rope. I'll cut off on him.
After that crack I gave him, he'll be out for a long time. But I'll tie his wrists together just the same. Hey, close that door.
Right. Here's the rope. Leave him face up so we can see if he comes to. Be sure you take his gun. I'll see about the kid on the bunk.
What's the matter with him, Baxter? He sleeping?
No, he's awake and looking at us.
Get away from me, you crook.
Who is this kid? Do you know, Slick?
I think he's Ward's grandson. I heard some talk about him before I got fired. His folks died in the States, and he was to come up and live with Jeremy.
Is that right, kid?
Yes, that's right. If you think you can get away with robbing my grandfather and murdering old Hank...
What's that?
I heard you talking about it. I know what you're going to do.
What do you mean you heard us talking about it? How could you overhear?
I did hear you. I was right behind the rock.
You must be mistaken, kid. Maybe you misunderstood something that was said.
I'm not mistaken. You want to steal some diamonds, but you had to find out how they were being shipped. You had to get a letter from Grandpa's safe so you'd know where to steal them.
Well, you don't say.
You were going to steal some money, and you said you'd plan it in Hank's house, so Hank would get the blame.
What are you doing here in Hank's house?
Is this Hank's?
I said, what are you doing here?
I don't know how I got here. I guess that man brought me.
Sergeant Preston?
Oh, God. Is that Sergeant Preston?
Listen, Baxter, we've got no choice. The kid knows too much.
Get back there in that bunk. You're not getting up.
This blows all our plans sky high.
Did you get that Mounty's hands tight?
Sure thing. Here's a hunk of rope. You better tie the kid while we decide what we're going to do.
It's a good idea.
No!
You shut up.
Sergeant Preston had regained his senses to find that his hands were tied together at the wrists. He had remained limp with his eyes closed, feigning unconsciousness in the hope of learning the reason for the sudden attack. His hopes had been fulfilled when Billy told the outlaws what he knew. Now he struggled at the rope, straining, trying to get his hands free. He raged inwardly at the thought of Billy being roughly handled and tied in his injured condition. His anger added to his strength, but not enough to stretch or break the stout cord.
I thought it over, Slick. The Mounty and the kid have got to die.
Killing a Mounty is bad business.
Preston came here of his own accord. He's the one who lit that candle. The shack is dry enough to burn like tinder. All we've got to do is drop the candle in the box of kindling wood.
No, I can't do that.
Hey, do you think you can stop us?
You'll hang if you do anything like that.
We'll take that chance. Put the Mounty on that other bunk, so it'll look like he was sleeping when the place caught fire. You take his feet, and I'll take his shoulders.
Maybe after the fire is out, there'll be evidence to show that his hands were tied. What do we do about that?
I'll take care of that. As soon as the fire is going, we'll give him an extra rap on the head. Take the rope off his wrist.
What about the kid?
The same. All right, get his feet.
Yeah. Sergeant Preston remained limp as he was lifted off the floor, but his mind was racing madly. He knew that any break he made would have to come before the next blow on the head sent him back into oblivion.
Put him right on his back so he can cut the rope that holds his wrist.
Right. Slick was bent over the foot of the bunk as he lowered the Mountie. Then Preston acted with lightning speed. He drew up his knees and shot both feet out. As both heels cracked against Slick's chin with stunning force. Slick's head snapped back. He staggered and fell. Baxter was wide-eyed with surprise. Before he could go for his gun, Preston rolled off the bunk, landing cat-like on his hands and feet. He leaped from the crouch and charged. The Mountie's head caught Baxter in the pit of his stomach and drove him back against the wall. Then Preston brought up both fists tied together. The uppercut was short but full of force.
Take it! I'll kill you for that.
You'd have killed me for less if you could.
Baxter brought up his gun. The Mountie's hands came down with a chopping stroke to the wrist. Slick had been stunned but momentarily. When he showed signs of recovery and began fumbling for his gun, Billy shrilled a warning. Preston dropped to the floor, scooped up Baxter's gun, and fired. The bullet caught Slick in the wrist just as his gun cleared the holster.
That does it. Hold it, Baxter. Please.
I'm hit. You shot me.
Are you surprised? Stand right where you are, Baxter, and keep your hands above the shoulders.
You were playing possum.
It's a good game, properly played.
I'm hurt, I tell you.
Not seriously.
I hear a dog.
That's King, Billy. I sent him for a doctor. Get over there, Baxter, beside your friend. Come on in. Come on in, all of you.
Billy. Great day, Sonny. You all right? What's going on here?
Who are these critters? A couple of crooks who planned to rob your safe and put the blame on Hank. Doctor, take a look at Billy. Got a hard rap on the head?
Yes, sir. Well, he's tied.
They're both tied.
We're lucky to be alive.
Preston and Billy were quickly untied. Doc looked at the boy and found that his injury was not serious, while Preston searched Slick and Baxter. he found money from Jeremy Ward's safe. Also, the secret shipping orders and a copy of those orders. Meanwhile, Jeremy told about the runaway dog team and the search for Billy.
After beating around in the night for some time, we decided to go back to town and get more men to help search. We were there when we saw your big dog race into town with a note tied to his collar.
We figured the boy might be Billy, so we came here.
And you didn't even know your safe had been robbed.
No, but this letter and the cash sure proves it. Slick, I told you to stay out of town. Now, by thunder, you can go to jail.
It was all Baxter's idea.
Why are you...
You'll both go to jail.
And about the diamond, Sergeant Preston. According to this letter, they're supposed to arrive tomorrow. The messenger is going to give them to me and help me plan on getting them to Dawson.
That's right, Jeremy. I was on my way to your place when I found Billy.
You?
Yes, I have the diamonds. They're in the belt under my shirt.
What's that? The Mountie had them.
You were closer to them than you thought.
Of all our rotten luck.
Yes, King, we'll take these men to town and put them in jail, boy.
Well, Billy, I have told you plenty of stories about Sergeant Preston and Yukon King.
Now, Hank, I can tell a story. Can I, Sergeant Preston?
Indeed you can, Billy. And be sure to tell how foolish and dejected outlaws look when they come to the end of the trail and their case is closed.
In just a moment, Sergeant Preston will give you a preview of Friday's adventure. Say, fellas and girls, are you building the exciting Yukon Trail at your house? Well, hurry. The Sergeant Preston Yukon Trail cutout models come with 8 different packages of delicious, nourishing Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice. You'll want the complete set, so you'll have all 59 of these larger, easier-to-build models. Just go to your grocery.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 15.
No box tops, no coupons. It's thrilling to have models of the very places that you hear about in these danger-packed adventures of Sergeant Preston and King. You get models of the Northwest Mounted Police Headquarters, a lumber camp, mining camp, the White Horse Hotel, General Store, and jail. You get dog sleds, teams of huskies, all kinds of Yukon animals. You get the Yukon Queen Riverboat with a paddle that actually turns. These models are so amazingly different. You even get scenery and the interiors of buildings. So build your complete Yukon Trail from Whitehorse to Dawson City right away. Get them at your grocer's now. They come only with the big red and blue packages of delicious, nourishing Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice. Yes, the original, crisp, fresh, shot from gun cereal that is never sold in bags or bulk. Listen Friday when Sergeant Preston and Yukon King meet the challenge of the Yukon in the case of the man who fled.
A fugitive from justice who had come to the Yukon under a false identity. A sinister blackmailer who met a well-deserved fate, and a name scrawled on the wall. Those were the clues I had to work with. They led me to the solution of a murder case, but when I found the guilty party, I also found myself facing a loaded 6-gun.
Be sure to hear this exciting adventure Friday. These radio dramas, a feature of the Challenge of the Yukon Incorporated, are created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Enterprises, and directed by Fred Flowerday. Today's adventure was written by Fran Stryker. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. They are brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time by Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns. Remember, for delicious hot breakfast, enjoy Quaker Oats. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Delicious, nutritious, makes you feel ambitious. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. And here's why Quaker Oats is called the giant of the cereals. There's more growth, more endurance in oatmeal than any other whole grain cereal. So make your hot breakfast nourishing Quaker Oats. Quaker and Mother's Oats are the same. This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye, good luck, and good health from Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice. So long. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Palmolive Soap, your beauty hope, and Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous dream girl hair bring you Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. Although our Miss Brooks teaches English at Madison High, her problems, like those of any other teacher, aren't always confined to purely scholastic ones. There's Mr. Philip Boynton, for instance, a biology teacher of whom Miss Brooks is extremely fond.
And who in return lavishes his affection upon his frogs and guinea pigs. There have been other problems, too. A perfect example of what I'm talking about occurred last Sunday. A grand illustration of what can happen when you let a little softness of the heart spread to your head. The day started off innocently enough when my landlady, Mrs. Davis, knocked on my door around 9:30 in the morning.
Connie. Oh, Connie.
What did the landlady used to do?
9:30.
Oh, come on in, Mrs. Davis.
I don't like to disturb you like this on Sunday.
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Davis. I've been up.
Since when?
Since you said Connie. Oh, Connie, get up, Connie. It's 9:30.
Well, I got your note to wake you, dear.
I'm glad you did, Mrs. Davis. I've got to do a little checking today on one of my pupils who's been absent all week, Eddie Garson.
But, Connie, today's Sunday.
I know, Mrs. Davis, but Eddie's always had such a good record of attendance. I just can't understand it. His mother hasn't answered any of my notes, and by tomorrow, Mr. Conklin will send a truant officer after him. I'm going over to his house today and investigate.
It's very nice of you to take such an interest in the boy, Connie.
Well, I feel it's my duty to go to Eddie's home, Mrs. Davis. He's always been a good student, well-behaved, with a fine character, and he lives 4 doors from Mr. Boynton.
Oh, I see. Connie, did Mr. Boynton ask you for a date?
Well, how could he, Mrs. Davis? I haven't asked him to yet. But if I can straighten out Eddie Garson in a hurry, I might accidentally run into Mr. Boynton. I'm perfectly willing to meet him halfway. Of course, if his door opens outward, I'm liable to get a broken nose.
But I understand that Mr. Boynton likes to take his Sunday morning constitutional by himself.
Well, that's what's nice about a constitutional. You can always amend it.
Coming. Miss Brooks.
May I come in, Eddie?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sit down, Miss Brooks.
Thank you, Eddie. I'm glad to see you're not sick. I came over to find out why you haven't been in school all week.
Well, frankly, Miss Brooks, I've been pretty busy.
Oh, well, I guess I can go home now.
You know, it's no joke trying to raise kids.
Kids? But you're only 14 years old yourself.
Well, that's what makes it so tough.
Oh, well, I guess I can go home now.
I've been taking care of my kid brothers, Miss Brooks. You see, my father's on the road and my mother's in the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eddie. Is there anything I can do to help?
Oh, there sure is, Miss Brooks. Mom's over in the Clay City Hospital, and I'd like to hitch a ride out and see her today. If there was only someone to stay with the kids.
Well,
you will? Oh, gee, that's wonderful, Miss Brooks. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. Hey, Daddy, will you come here? What do you want, Eddie? Yeah, this is Miss Brooks. She's my English teacher at school.
Oh. I'm glad to know you, too, Mike.
And this is Danny. Say hello to Miss Brooks, Danny.
Hello.
Now, there won't be any trouble at all, Miss Brooks. In fact, they'll give you all the help you need.
Help?
Well, yeah, with Tommy, the baby.
Help.
Well, I'll be running along now. I'll be home in time for dinner. Thanks a million. So long.
Well, here we are.
I'm hungry. I'm thirsty.
Well, you'll have to wait. Oh, on second thought, maybe you other two better wait. Oh, quiet, baby. Nice, baby. Your mother will be home soon. Oh, dear. How did your mother keep him quiet?
You gotta tell a story.
Yeah, you gotta tell him a story.
All right, I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time...
He heard that one.
He's pretty blasé for a child his age. Anyway, once there were 3 bears.
You gonna tell him that, old chestnut?
Give her a chance, Danny. She might put a switch on it.
And so Snow White and the Prince lived happily ever after.
I'm glad for him.
I wonder why Eddie ain't home.
You wonder why Eddie ain't home?
Some English teacher.
You know, I never in my life hit a child, and this is the first time I ever wondered why. Eddie should have been back by now, though. It's after 7.
I'm hungry. I'm thirsty.
I'll get you something to eat and drink in a minute. Quiet, Tommy. Now, once there was a girl named Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, great.
Whose father was a traveling salesman. And the glass slipper fit right over Cinderella's foot. Well, thank goodness they're all asleep. Now, if I only knew where Eddie was. Oh, shh. Hello?
Hello, Miss Brooks. Well, gee, I had a wonderful visit with my mother, thanks to you.
Oh, I'm glad, Eddie, but where are you now?
Well, I'm still in Clay City, Miss Brooks, with some friends of mother's. The doctor said she can go home tomorrow, and if you'll just stay with the kids overnight...
Oh, but Eddie, I haven't got any...
Well, one of mother's. Well, gee, I sure appreciate this, Miss Brooks. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, well, it's in a good cause.
I'm hungry. I'm thirsty.
Once there were 3 little pigs.
Let's not bring personalities into this. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty.
Well, come on, drop the other shoe. That's better. Now, once there was a big giant. Oh, what a horrible night. Let's see now. I better see what's in the kitchen before hungry, thirsty, and screamy wake up. Oh, there's not a thing in the cupboards. I better call Mrs. Davis. If they'll only stay quiet for a few more minutes.
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. Davis. This is Connie.
Connie, I've been worried sick. Where in the world have you been?
I have no time to explain now, but I want you to do me a favor. When Walter Denton comes by to take me to school, send him over to 225 Park Street.
225 Park Street?
Yes, Mrs. Davis, I can't make it to school today.
But, Connie...
I'll tell you all about it when I see you.
This is mysterious. Not going to school on Monday morning. I'd better call Mr. Conklin. I'll just tell him that Connie is sick and...
Hello?
Hello. Is that you, Osgood?
This is Mr. Conklin speaking.
This is Margaret Davis Osgood, and I just want to tell you that Miss Brooks won't be in school today. She doesn't feel well.
Doesn't feel well? What's the matter with her?
I really don't know, Osgood. I just know she's quite indisposed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Davis. You always get indisposed on Monday.
What's that, Osgood?
Tell Miss Brooks to take care of herself. Goodbye.
He didn't sound very concerned. If I were you, Connie, I wouldn't go in until I... Well, who am I talking to? She's not even home.
Brooks? As soon as I send one of my students to the store, Mike.
You playing hooky today, Miss Brooks?
I guess I'll have to until your brother Eddie comes home. Hey, that reminds me. I better call Mr. Conklin. What'll I tell him? I can't explain about Eddie on the phone. Besides, there's no proof of his story until his mother comes back.
I wish you'd talk to us for a while. You're making me very nervous.
I'm sorry, Danny. I know what I'll do. I'll make believe I'm Mrs. Davis and tell him I'm sick.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Conklin. This is Mrs. Davis.
Margaret?
Yes, I just wanted to tell you that Miss Brooks doesn't feel very well.
What's the matter? Is she taking a turn for the worse?
Who?
Miss Brooks.
Yes? Oh, well, that is, she's no worse than she's ever been.
Have you had a doctor?
Yes, but how did you know she was sick?
You just told me a few minutes ago.
I did? Oh, of course I did. Well, I'm terribly upset about this.
Now, for heaven's sake, Margaret, don't go to pieces.
Oh, quiet, Margaret. Tommy. I'll be all right. Goodbye, Mr. Conklin.
I wish my mother was here. I want my mother.
I could use my mother, too.
Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, will continue in just a moment. But first, here is Vern Smith with an important announcement. Palmolive Soap is giving away prizes worth $67,000. A grand prize of $25,000 in one lump sum, or $100 a month for life. And that's not all. There are over 2,000 prizes in Palmolive's big treasure chest contest. Ford sedans, Westinghouse laundromats, From Silver Fox scarves, Toastmaster toasters, and it's easy to enter. Complete the last line of this jingle.
A fresher, brighter-looking skin is something I would like to win. I'll get Palmolive Soap today. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Write your last line on a plain sheet of paper or use an official entry blank giving complete rules obtainable at your dealers. Include your own and dealer's name and address and mail with the big word Palmolive from the front of the wrapper of one regular and one bath-size cake of Palmolive Soap to Palmolive, Box 92, New York 8, New York. Now here's the jingle once more.
A fresher, brighter-looking skin is something I would like to win. I'll get Palmolive Soap today. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Mail your entry to Palmolive, Box 92, New York 8, New York. But hurry, your last chance. Contest closes next Saturday. Get Palmolive Soap for a lovelier complexion. Remember, doctors prove Palmolive's beauty results. And now back to Our Miss Brooks, where we find Walter Denton and Harriet Conklin listening to the radio in Walter's car. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our newscast from our nation's capital.
I think they're going to give another clue for the $18,000 contest on Sing It Again.
Okay, Harriet.
And here, ladies and gentlemen, is your extra clue to the Phantom Voice on the CBS Sing It Again program. At camp, his father was a king who spent some time at lumbering.
Okay, Walter, you can turn it off now.
Boy, I'd sure like to win those prizes. At camp, his father was a king. What was the second line, Harriet?
The second line? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh.
It was nice of you to give me a ride this morning, Walter.
Oh, that's all right, Harriet. If I were the principal's daughter and you were me, you'd give me a ride if my father drove off to school early in the morning without me this morning, wouldn't you?
You mean the only reason you stopped for me is because of my father?
Oh, of course that's not what I mean. I thought you might want to ride over and pick up Miss Brooks with me. Mrs. Davis was pretty mysterious about her. Said she hadn't been home all night.
Well, where did Mrs. Davis say Miss Brooks was, Walter?
225 Park Street.
Park Street. Doesn't Mr. Boynton live on Park Street?
Yeah, come to think of it, he does.
Walter, remember that picture we saw last week? The one called Her Other Life?
Yeah, Harriet.
Maybe Miss Brooks has